join us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's been a request that we take the agenda out of order. We have someone here that would like to speak, so I will make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32A, tuition request. Is there a second?
Motion.
Pardon me?
I second that motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Fog eye.
Seer aye. Joy aye.
What eye?
Brown, yes. All right, we're in non-public, if you were... This is in.
Who is DCFS?
CFS.
USA LLC. They got 27, 25, 81.
It says bus number 28 and 27.
Oh, okay. Are those the new buses?
I don't know.
That's for the lease.
Those are the two new leases? Okay.
Where-
Am I ahead of
Page 3.
you? You missed that?
You missed it?
Put your glasses on.
Sure.
Blower.
That's the lease? The lease. But actually it's this.
Yeah. Two of them together.
I just put them right here. And I guess I can cover.
Do you know- What's, you know anything, what's going on with the bus fleet? Are they up,
Being serviced for this.
they getting inspected or something?
Are they not on the lot?
The 8 of them were missing on Sunday.
I think that they're,
I would assume
I
being
think they were at
serviced.
the Preziers. I think I saw them there over the weekend, probably getting their summer inspections done. Summer service.
Huh?
That's like 223. These are all 223. Paid 18. Includes all that.
There should be everything in there.
having electrical work done in the school? Pioneer Mechanical?
You know what that is? It's
Any
apparently in
mechanical?
code.
No, we don't have any
Plumbing?
electrical work being done.
It's gonna be Dave Takis' company.
Oh, damn, thanks.
He's a plumber.
Yeah. The name, I know the name.
Is there
I'm not
anything that
pretty
we
sure.
brought subs in for?
We've been doing painting
Path and
going on right
focus
now. We
workbooks.
had the roof, we had the renovation in the
I
modular.
interpreted the acronym.
Who did that?
MIF.
Well, Connie did most of that. I'm not sure if Takis might have done
What's
some.
the acronym?
Was there plumbing disturbed or
I don't
electrical
think so.
disturbed?
RELF.
I'll look at that and see if there's a
What's the
description on
price
it.
on it, Bonnie?
It's $932.07.
No, I can't think of what he may have done.
Okay. Nope.
So we can get this to go
We must have something going on because we have Rockingham Electric too. Is it one of like the summer jobs being done? I guess we don't even really know what the summer projects are this year, or at least I don't.
We have Scott Electric too.
Are you still looking at the check?
Well, too, but-
Go ahead.
No,
You can go first. That's my stomach, I'm so sorry. I ate that cake. Actually, no, I want the checks. I want to look at the checks first. I have a couple questions. Thanks.
That will
That
go
goes this way?
on the bottom
Yep.
of that.
Perfect, thanks. That's not the one to sign, that's the copy. There's no red. Is that
Well,
Ralph's?
is that yours?
No?
Could be mine.
Oh, you gave her, you gave her your
Gave everybody,
copies.
gave everybody your. Not this. Bonnie, sounds like it's work over the lot. Work over the lot, it sounds like probably disconnecting electrical maybe from the house, the trailer, possibly.
Oh, look, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that would have been done with the power company.
I'm not sure, I just texted Joe and Joe had said the lot.
Okay,
I'm trying to find out specifically what that was.
okay. Owl pellets? Oh. I know what those are.
too.
One in particular? Yeah, I
Now,
questioned
is that what
too.
your question is? 'Cause that's
Well,
my
I had a
question.
couple others that I was asking too. Standard.
That's for last year. You take it to the final.
Hmm?
For last year, yes.
Last year.
See, but we didn't take it done for her.
Right.
Oh, we did.
Yes.
Is that coming out of the grants or something? Find the Nikki's program?
I'm going.
Come on.
Hey, we'll look at some of your own?
Out right on top. Parents community. Still have special component of a table for
Jerry,
Yes.
Nikki's folders, are those the,
Student folders go to home at the end of the start of the school year. They're year-round folders.
is it like their,
It's a heavy-duty.
black pants of student folders.
yep, it's like, does it have the calendar and the teachers communicate back and forth with the parents
It
that
doesn't
way?
have a calendar, but it'll say what you take home, what's supposed to stay at home, what's homework,
Okay,
what's going back.
all right,
It's a back and forth folder.
back and forth
Yeah.
folder?
Hopefully one that'll last all year.
This is a year this time.
Mhm.
Just special, you're special. We got it for you.
Yep, perfect,
You're welcome.
thank you.
No problem.
Isn't it today?
It's membership dues.
It is. That's,
National Heart Association.
Okay.
down way to paint the line.
Is that Lowe's?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the piece of equipment to paint the lines on the field as well as some paint. We're actually paint.
You know, who's obligated, is that ours or Parks and Rec?
It's ours, because we have
Ours.
teens starting this year.
Correct. Flags?
Why aren't they going?
Primer, those I can understand. So we did some painting.
It's like Joe Williams.
Yeah.
He must have picked everything
He
out
must
that he
have picked
needed.
everything up.
Replacement motor in room ventilator library. Did you know that happened?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Pioneer
Is that
Mechanical.
that software?
And remove motor and replace shaft coupling.
On Apple? Yeah, on Apple product. Yeah, that was.
There's no way of moving in there.
No, we noticed that the last
Yeah.
meeting we were in.
Yeah.
But would that be a license? Maybe. There isn't anything that probably software license.
Of course, there's a lot of us Spartan students, but the United and some enforcement stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that is still, they're not doing clearance. There's Superman shoes with the way they want it.
Do we do West Ed? Jerry, is this an ongoing thing?
Plus, I have to learn here.
I'm not sure.
Michael, do we do the West Ed every year? Is this,
That's the end, but for the end of last
it's
year.
for the end of last year, and we're doing it again this year? How's that work?
We have plans to bring Kevin Starks in again this year.
When?
I'm not sure when it's scheduled for.
The first place in the work would be August 20.
Bob's looking at him, I can look at him.
August 28th. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Well, then we need to discuss that. Probably tonight.
That's the final bill for last
For
year.
last, okay.
But that's for last year, but as far as this year, we need to discuss that.
We could bring that up during grant review. We could bring that up during grant review,
Yes.
because it's written in the West Ed, or it's not written with the grants, however, that'd be a good time to speak about it.
Okay.
If you'd like to do it. There's several on there.
I got it. Yes, now. So if you can make a note to have that, that'd be great.
Yeah. These are all the checks?
Staying up late tonight. Yep.
Those are all the checks, you're not. Down to the.
Yes, it's going to take a comment on the asbestos. The comment for asbestos and possible. Oh, it did. Section A, B. So the additional cost that we have to add to that, whatever comes in for bid.
I've had to bring samples in before, that's why I have to ask them.
This one. Didn't want to sign that one?
No, I didn't,
So
I didn't cancel on that
moving
one.
all to come in.
You want to have a bite of his cake?
Pretty great.
His head would spin right around, wouldn't it?
Like the kids.
You wanna start already?
No, I was just saying, what would you do if I took a bite of your cake? She said your head would probably spin around.
Is, everybody else set in the manifest?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Right, call for these little tabs, huh?
I will use those.
I do too.
I will use them. We should make sure Michael uses them.
I'm sure he does.
You do? You reuse those little tabs?
Do I use the little tabs?
Do you
Reuse them?
reuse your little tabs? It's not very frugal, Michael.
Like a tenth of it. We could develop a policy about it.
Yes, because those can be used a couple times before they lose their
Don't ask
stickiness.
what you don't want.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the manifest,
I'll make
please?
that
Is
motion.
there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes of the last meeting.
I had a correction, or a question.
I do too.
Come on.
I bet it might be the same thing.
Visitor
I bet.
Mary,
I think it's Mary Collins, not Mary Nason.
Correct.
or was it Judy Nason?
Or was it Judy
Judy
Nason?
Nason.
I think it was Judy,
It was
actually.
Judy.
I know it was Nason.
So it's
It was
Judy.
Judy.
Yeah.
It was Mary. It was Mary that asked.
It was Mary Collins? No.
No,
That
for
was in
visitors.
attendance. Judy was here too,
Oh,
right?
in attendance. But further on, it says it's, she asked a question, and that was Mary that asked the question.
Yep. So it's Mary Collins, but Judy Nason was also present.
So in the public comment was Mary Collins?
It was, not Mary Nason.
So we could actually add as one visitor, either Mary Collins or Judy Nason.
Yes.
Yes.
But
Either
it was
or.
actually Mary that asked the question.
But Mary, on page 3, right under public comment, it was Mary Collins.
See it?
Anything else? If not, I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 16th, 2014.
I'll make that motion.
As amended?
As amended.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Fine.
Is there any reason why we can't do the non-public of July 16th, 2014? No. And if we can we have a motion or,
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public minutes of July 16th, 2014.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How about the minutes of July 22nd, 2014?
For the SAU withdrawal.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve those. No?
I was there.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
were.
okay.
Yep.
All right, I was there. Sorry. I was looking at something else.
You were there, would you like to
No,
make
she
it?
wasn't.
No, I
She
wasn't
wasn't at
there.
the SAU withdrawal meeting.
Not the
Right.
last.
No, not the last one, but this
July
is July
22nd.
22nd.
She was at.
The first one.
Oh, okay,
You were
yeah.
at the first one,
Right.
I
not
was
the
at the
second.
first one.
So does that mean you'd like to make a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make the motion for
Bonnie. Public comment. Nobody? All right, correspondence.
Don't have any correspondence this evening?
I do. All right, I was asked about the family cookout. No, we didn't do it last
We
year.
didn't do
No.
it last year.
We haven't
And
done it.
they're asking if they were gonna, had plans of doing it this
We do
year.
not have plans to do that this year.
And also, does the school have say what is served for lunch?
No.
Interpret school.
Us.
At the school?
School board, school administration.
Well, I guess school, well, I don't know.
I can speak to that.
Sure.
Cafe Services sets the menu. However, they also determine lunch menus by asking the students as well and the staff. So that might be a change in menu based on that input, from my experience.
Grant Review Committee. We need to form a grant review committee. As we can see, we've got grants in this evening. We could probably put it all together now if you want, but we really need to start reviewing these grants. I mean, just these here, I have all kinds of questions on them. And this is why we really need a grant review committee.
I agree. Only because if we're going forward and we don't want to take grants, we need to be able to explain what we were taking the grant for. If we're gonna ask the taxpayers to come up with some of the money, these really need to be picked over, and I totally agree with them.
So are you looking for a motion to set that up as a committee and then ask for volunteers to be on the committee? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Can I have a motion to create a grant review committee?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Did you vote yes?
I said aye.
Ralph?
it. I was just, as we were looking at them, if there were at least historical grants that we're requesting now, because there's, a lot of these are, for instance, first approved, there's empty dates.
Yep. The grants that are, I don't know, Mr. Chair, do you want to go right into the,
Well, why don't we at first find out who's going to be on the committee?
I'm sorry.
I'll volunteer to do it. Anybody else wanna?
I'll volunteer.
I volunteer.
We can probably even open it up to people of the community too. Someone
Is that
wants
allowed?
to-
We can have the community?
Yes.
All right, so
Anybody wanna be on the grant review committee?
ask them, have them come forward.
You
at
know
the-
she does.
Have them come forward at the next meeting. And why don't you three?
Tommy,
Yes, sir.
you would like to be on the grant review committee?
Comeau, yes.
Okay, Priscilla?
As well, Steve.
And if anybody else, you know, you talk to, you know, that would like to be on it, let them know, and we'll, why don't, yeah, what, should we give it, what,
5 of you should make a appointment to get together.
well, why don't we give it till next meeting? And anybody get, and then we'll set a date to have a meeting? That sound like a plan? Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Mary?
We'll give,
I just have a question.
go ahead.
Is this a standing subcommittee of the board?
That's what we just voted on, yeah.
Okay, so then you would have board members that would be making votes at that subcommittee
Recommendations. Or
to move to the full board?
Right.
Okay, so you're looking at posting these meetings and taking minutes of these meetings, and so you're looking at a formal board subcommittee meeting is what this grant review subcommittee will be?
I would assume so. I would hope so.
Everybody?
Yeah.
So I guess what I would have to look into, and I don't know this right now, is if it's a standing subcommittee of the full board, if everyone needs to be a resident of Wakefield to be
I would
on the
assume they
board.
would.
Okay.
I would think
I
that.
just don't, because you were gonna ask people to be on it, so I just wanted to make
Well,
sure.
that creates a problem.
Why?
Because as Mr. Comeau has volunteered, he's not a resident of Wakefield, but he is in fact a taxpayer to Wakefield. So if he's a taxpayer, he has every right to serve on the committee.
I was just
so-
asking the question.
Okay, I'd just be careful with residents, because if you're a taxpayer,
Well,
believe
that,
it.
wait a minute, that
Wait
can
a
That may
minute.
not be the case.
That
Yeah,
might not be
right.
the case, because if you're looking at tuition, it's
You
a
can't do
totally
that.
different thing. So we need to clarify that before your next meeting, clarify the ruling on that, and you can move forward after that, I would think.
well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Give me permission. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, before you get too much farther, who seconded? Because you're quiet down there.
Ralph.
Thank you.
Well, why couldn't he serve on it if he's a taxpayer?
I cannot vote in Wakefield.
Right.
We wouldn't be voting.
You're not voting, all it is making a recommendation to the board. The board is the one who votes.
Can we just confirm what our
Yeah, we
policy
need
on
to-
requirements for subcommittee are?
We do need to clarify that, Steve.
Do we even have one?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's probably not even in there, this particular topic of,
Well, then we need to bring it
maybe.
to the policy committee before you move forward too then, to make sure we've covered our bases.
so then we'll have to put it off till after it goes to the policy committee?
We're gonna meet next week,
We're meeting next week, so.
and then we're gonna bring everything at the next meeting, so you'll be able to move forward from there.
The next meeting will be facilities, not policy. Right?
Doesn't mean that we can't have them in the regular packet, because it'll be, if we decide to put them in for a first reading, they're in your regular packet.
Right, but this won't be till the following,
It'll be the next board meeting.
which is September 3rd.
Yes, sir.
You say so.
Which for approval would be the last meeting in September,
Mhm.
so that policy wouldn't.
Unless
in
the
place.
policy's already in
If it's
place.
already, yeah, if it's already in place, it's not a,
We just have to verify it.
right.
Yeah, but I would doubt that this verbiage is in there. I would doubt it.
If it's,
Kate telling us some stuff.
All right, so we got a grant review committee, but we gotta figure out a situation with a participant. So we will let you know when we figure that out. SAU withdrawal.
I just have copies of the spreadsheet, actually there's one from Michael too, of the work that we did at the last meeting, so that you guys can have it moving forward. If you, do you need a copy of this for the minutes?
Only if you want me to have it.
I don't know, Jerry, do you want one?
I'll look along if you have an extra. Thank you.
This would be a good thing for the minute.
So all it is you go over to the very far column and it puts the estimates that we had, and then at the next meeting we have verifications that we need to make and classifications of what we require for job descriptions, is that right?
Yes. You all set with that?
Are you?
Bus routes.
In your packet, you have the bus routes for this coming school year. There are no changes to the actual routes themselves, just minor changes within the times, a few minutes here and there, just to adjust. So there aren't any major changes to those routes as of this year from last year.
I heard a concern about the Union bus, about the kids being on the bus for a lot longer than they used to be.
Look at the kids that live out on Bondman Road and how long they're on the bus for. That's what
But, well,
transportation
I
is.
understand that, but, you know, it was a concern brought to my attention, and so,
So they're on the bus for an hour, a little under an hour.
That's the purple bus we're talking about, Steve.
I wasn't given a color. I was just told that the Union bus, that the kids are spending a lot more time on the bus than they used to. And if I could bring that up at a meeting, and so I'm passing that on, and Mr. Tercey would like to look at that, and then maybe with Mr. Aldridge, and
They're getting picked up later, later than the folks over on Pioneer Pond.
They're all on the bus from between 25 and 50 minutes, every route.
It's like 7:30 and 7:25 are the times the pickups begin. 8:15 and 8:24. 8:15, it seems like the average time. 8:20.
But that's 8:15 is when they can actually get off the bus. Like if the bus gets here early, they keep them on the bus until the doors open, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They do?
Yep.
Holy moly. If it's a hot day.
certainly, it's a matter of having staff to be there as part of the contract.
Can't dump them on the playground, make them play, exercise.
Yes, sir.
You try to avoid that drama in the morning, right?
Be supervised.
All right, we all set with that?
Do you have to approve them?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the 2014-15 Transportation Department's bus routes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Cafe services. Proposed price increase.
Do you want to explain this?
Yep.
Okay.
Also included in your packet was a copy of this year's contract with Cafe Services. In developing the contract, the proposed prices for this coming school year were included. It came to my attention that there is an increase of 25 cents. Increase it for lunch is 25 cents for grades K to 4. Increase of 25 cents, grades 5 to 8. Breakfast increase, grades K to 4 is 25 cents, and a breakfast increase, grades 5 through 8 is a 25-cent increase. This is based on Cafe Services did a preliminary run on what's a form that's known as our PLE, and that's what we submit information into that generates a formula that gives us an idea as to what we should increase our prices by each year in order to make sure that the prices that we have are not below free and reduced reimbursements. So our prices have not increased for I'm not sure how many years. So based on that formula on that form, the 25-cent increase is part of the contract. So when I became aware that there was a 25-cent increase, I actually called Bonnie to see if she was aware of that and reviewing the contract. And my understanding is that you weren't, so I wanted to make sure that it came in front of the board it would need board approval for a lunch increase. So before we move forward on it, it would need board approval.
Bob?
Not approved.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of this at all. We actually did talk about, with Cafe Services, about increasing the lunch money, about having better food, right? I mean, we talked about for different options for, for having better food, for having cut vegetables and fruit and stuff like that. I don't know where this comes from, of where they're saying now they want to increase it. What is it all about, of why they want to increase it? Is this going to be what we talked about? Is this part of that?
No, this isn't based on that they want to increase it. This is based on something that we would have done in the central office as well, and could have brought that recommendation to you.
So what if we increased it from what we talked about, before this? Would that still go up?
It would have to be above and beyond that?
No, the board determines what you set for a lunch price. So if the board decides that 25 cents, you don't want to increase it by 25 cents, you can make that motion and approve it.
I just want to know what the 25 cents is for.
It's to bring us up to standard with the recommendations from the state as to what we should be charging for lunches.
So going back to our meeting, if we decided to increase it as a full board, that was for a better lunch, better, more lunch, better, everything better. That's what Cafe Service told us that they would actually. They wanted us to do that, actually.
They wanted us to do that. They said that it had been a good amount of time before, since our lunch prices have been increased, and they said if we wanted more choices, if we want fruit prepared to look more.
It was all about labor cost.
Yeah, it was labor costs, and the way to cover
Correct.
that was to add.
So if we don't do this and increase it 25 cents for our side of it, we get that?
But what it is that what's reimbursed from free and reduced is going to be lower than what we charge, so they're going to be losing money.
Actually, you get dinged by the state if you're charging less than
Yeah.
a free and reduced reimbursement.
Well,
So you'd have to, we would be coming back to you to request an increase.
If these price increases were not approved, would that result in a less of a service from cafe services? Would they, would they be less inclined to provide a bigger variety or bigger portion size? What would be the result of not approving these increases?
Yeah.
You want one?
It
Go ahead.
won't be that way. Such a mess.
Basically, they would have to adjust
Did you all hear that? I hope you did.
they would have to adjust the financial financial aspect of the contract. So the contract is based on the 25-cent increase. So they have to go back and rerun the financials and rerun that contract.
I thought the contract was already assigned.
It is. Doesn't mean we couldn't adjust it because you didn't want to approve the 25-cent increase.
Well,
I
That's why
think
was
what
bringing it to
we
your
were
attention.
thinking, because we thought that it was very important that fruits and vegetables were made more appealing and that they used more local rather than outsources. I mean, we discussed 50 cents.
Right.
We discussed adding 50 cents. So, but we weren't leaving the adults in the building out. So the adults in the building would go, it would be $2.50, $2.75, and $4, and then it would be $1.75, $1.75, and $2.50. Once these children get to Spalding, it's $5 a day no matter what you do. But they have choices in the kids, and I mean, they're healthy choices, but there's more a la carte and things are different. But we had said adding 50 cents, and then, it would be 25 cents would go towards cafe services betterment now, and 25 would go to increase that. But I would think that 25 cents would also better the food and maybe the labor.
Well, that's what they tended to say.
That's what they had told us.
But this sounds like something different.
No? No?
Good.
So the way I interpret that is that if you were to propose a 50-cent increase and it was approved by the board, you're meeting the 25-cent increase that was based on the PLE, but you're also looking for additional services and food quality and based on the other 25 cents. So that's what I could express to cafe services if you were to do the 50 cents.
Well, I would, Ralph, I think you would.
How does this help the folks who can't afford the lunch prices today? Would it drive them deeper in debt? Would it create a greater financial hardship on those families?
In all honesty, Ralph, you can choose to feed your family from home, you can choose to pay, or you can choose to apply for help. And you can't feed a child from home for $2 or $2.50 a day. If you can, I mean, maybe you can if you budget everything out and measure chips and fruits and vegetables are expensive. Yogurt's expensive, dairy's expensive. A lot of this, we had a huge increase in milk this year. The milk price went up substantially. So I don't necessarily think that $2.50 a day is a hardship. I don't know if it would change the ratio to who would be approved and who wouldn't be approved.
It could.
It could, because if it's more money and they make,
Well, I have a I think I heard correctly that the other 25 cents will go to improve quality.
no. And
I think that the quality should already be there.
Well,
So I don't think you really want to be saying, or even trying to, we're going to give you an extra 25 cents per lunch to improve the quality of the meal.
What about variety? I mean, I'm not going to put
well, I think it was all of the above. Quality and more variety
presentation.
and presentation.
Presentation is a lot with kids
The quality
this
should
age.
already be there.
We
I know
understand
we've
that.
had some issues with quality over the last year, but that's even more so, where the quality may have been an issue at times during this past year. I think we want to be real careful that, okay, well, we had quality issues last year, but now we're going to pay you more money so that you will improve the quality that should already be there to begin with. I have an issue with
I hear you. I do hear you. I think the quality should be there. That's why we're looking into this and moving forward with this. I still have a lot of questions that are unanswered with cafe services of what they're gonna provide that's better for us this year. I don't know that yet.
We've asked for a meeting with Chris.
Yep.
And he hasn't gotten back to us.
Yep.
He emailed us a few times, but he hasn't given us a date. We said that we'd like to meet before school starts, and he hasn't gotten back in touch with us.
Well, the last meeting we had with them was in June,
May or June, end of May, early June.
and we told him our concerns, and we discussed them, and I think going forward, not sure about the answers to all those were answered correctly, or answered at all. You know, I did some comments on, email, so, I don't know.
What are we gonna do?
We need to know soon,
We need to know before school starts.
which is now.
Yep.
I would recommend that you set a lunch price
Mhm.
this evening so we get the letter to the parents.
Yep.
We also have to put out the freedom of use application, and the price is on there, correct?
Correct.
What price are on?
Lunch prices.
Lunch prices.
No,
for
the old
reunion.
price or this price?
Depends on whatever you
Whatever
approve
this
this
is.
evening, so that's why I needed to bring it, once it came to my attention, I had to bring it to you to make sure that any change from last year's lunch price is approved by the board.
Another problem with it I have is you're gonna go up in the kids, but you're not gonna go up in the adults.
That's not what I said. I said that I didn't
I
know
didn't
what
say you said. I
kids
just
were
said
being left out.
I'm having a problem with
We had-
increase the kids and not the adults.
As far as this is concerned, is that?
Correct.
I agree with that.
Well, I think this is because of the free and reduced that comes from the state. When Bob and I and Andrew had discussed it, we were 50 cents across the board.
Right.
Breakfast and lunch.
Right.
All
But
those.
that has nothing to do with this.
But it had nothing to do with this because Andrew didn't really discuss the is it PLE? He really didn't discuss that with us at all. I don't know if it was just an
That's from
oversight
the
or.
state,
It's something we have to fill out every year and submit.
so the state tells us how much to charge for lunch.
Recommendation,
Recommendation.
correct.
So the PLE is an acronym for,
I'm sorry, Mr. Farley, I don't know the acronym. That's one that I haven't,
performance.
I'm still learning about food service from a business administration standpoint.
So it's a recommendation that they asked for from us.
What is generated by the form is the recommendation that you should increase by. Doesn't mean you have to.
So if we say no to this and still increase it 50 cents on the other side, we're okay.
Well, so basically, the board can set whatever price they want. If you want to raise it 50 cents, then you have the option to do that. You'd still fall within the recommendation off the PLE form, but you'd also be adding another 25 cents to it.
And they,
So you'd be well within the range.
if it wasn't,
Is that what you're asking?
No.
if it wasn't addressing the PLE, would they be able to spend that however they wanted to and
Right,
not,
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
and not,
I'm saying no to this because it's a recommendation and 50 cents for better food, quantity and quality.
It's not sectioned out, so you wouldn't say whatever you make off 25 cents, the 50-cent increase goes to food.
Well, that's not what we did really discuss. We discussed that if we did raise the prices, we'd get better quality and quantity of food. So, am I correct saying that, Bonnie?
Yeah, because the PLE, when we discussed it with him, I think that this page was added on after we spoke. The first contract that I remember reading with Chris and Andrew did not have this 2014 proposed price list in it, so it was not anything that Bob and Andrew and I had to discuss. I think that this was put on afterwards when we set stipulations, specific stipulations of what was supposed to be going on with food service and what we were, absolutely not going to tolerate, and that, we were very strict that it has to be better or they're gone. 60 days, they're done. And we make,
Well, then,
so I'm saying that Bob and I and Andrew had already discussed before this going up 50 cents. So if but it was not to pacify any PLE, it was to say, we want someone to take the time to cut the skin off the kiwi. We want someone to take the time to make the sandwiches into hearts. If it makes the kids want to try pastrami and cheese, you cut it into hearts. If you have to make a turtle look like a...
And that wasn't us, that was Chris
That
telling
wasn't us.
that.
That was Chris saying, if you want the meals to be presented in a better way, it takes labor. And we need to have labor. And if you don't want to hire a totally different person, we need to add on somewhere, and that's what you have to do, is what he told us.
This,
I have a question. So, you wanna go?
I would just want to say that you're talking about a 50-cent increase. This proposed price list does represent a 50-cent a day increase.
We were talking per meal. Ralph, you can't eat at home for $1.25.
I don't know that I can because I eat at Lino's.
I know you eat it lean, but you can't. Even if you divvy up a box of cereal, orange juice, milk, and a piece of fruit or a yogurt, it's not going to be $1.75 a day.
What I'm stuck on is the people that can't afford to pay for their kids' meals today.
But if the people can't afford to be paying for their kids' meals today, there are programs that can help them. They just have to apply.
Some people have the thing called pride, and
Pride is wonderful, but when it comes to, sometimes you just have to, as a parent, sometimes you just have to suck it up and do it. It's not something we're all happy about, but sometimes you just have to do it for the betterment of your family.
Susan?
I did. Michael, from what I'm getting from you, the way I'm understanding it, it doesn't matter if it says, if you're saying 50 cents to the PLE, it doesn't matter. We can drop that PLE thing. It's not even a huge deal, and increase it 50 cents, and it's not going to hurt anything. It doesn't go to anything.
For what we're
Right,
asking for.
right. It doesn't, that's what I'm hearing from you. It doesn't, we're within the guidelines. We can put that 50 cents in Ralph's pocket to eat at Lino's. So, well, we wouldn't,
you.
but you know what I mean? So we're all set with that. It doesn't, we're not applying it to anything.
I'd like to make sure that I answered your question, Rob.
It did now, as long as it applies to what we're talking about.
So this money's
Yes.
going to cafe services, it's not coming to us.
Well, it's going to go to cafe services, but then if you increase the adults, that's going to be a revenue.
if it's accounted for.
It should be.
With a 50-cent, I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. If there's a 50-cent increase, they would have to rerun the financials on the contract. So we would see that again as to what we might be seeing as a refund at the end of the year. So we have to predict what that would be. So.
Or do we wait to get these answers, because he said if we don't approve this a quarter, they'll be back asking for it at a later period. Do we wait on this to get some
I
answers?
think we need the answers, but I think we need to set a price.
Right, we need to set a lunch price.
I'm really not happy with the way this is, coming around of, we talked about this in May and June and really have heard nothing about this. Now we're under the gun again, with food service, and we're not getting anywhere with this. We don't know what we're gonna have, better than last year. We wanna increase the price to have better food, but we're not sure if we're gonna get it, It's very difficult.
If we don't get it, we have 60 days to get someone else in, right?
Which might be.
Yes.
It might be difficult, but if in the first month we're unhappy, put them on notice.
If we don't know whether we're gonna get any improvement, why would we even entertain raising the price? If anything, just leave it at the quarter. And that's, if you want to even go a quarter.
No, even a quarter would be raising the price.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, if we want to go a quarter to raise the price to begin with. But not knowing whether, if you make it 50 cents, that you're gonna get an improvement, you can't.
Well, I'm hoping with a quarter we'd get improvement.
I'm hoping without a quarter, we'll get improvement over
I'm hoping
what
that
we
too.
had last year. But that's the point. I mean, you can't, just raising the price is not gonna guarantee improvement.
You're correct.
And I have a problem with just raising the price on potentially getting improvement to start with, so,
Can I tell you what PLE is?
sure.
Ralph was asking. Program, application, paid, lunch, equity. Makes a lot of sense.
Was paid lunch.
That's what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
So that's trying to compensate for the subsidy from paid lunch program, right?
the free and reduced.
So they're making an adjustment.
Well,
So if we leave it alone and do nothing at all, and we have a meeting, can we raise it after the fact?
You can raise the lunch price at any time. However, I'm thinking for families that are setting their budgets and prior to the start of the school year, they would have to make those adjustments if you did it at some point during the school year. So it's beneficial to do it prior.
I think it would be better to start with a price and continue.
I guess I just have a question why this portion of it got signed and we never were informed about it.
Did you ever get the rest of this?
We got this, but these were not part of it. This page was. No, this was not part of, and we didn't get a copy that day. We got to view a copy, but because it hadn't been signed, we didn't get the copy, the formal copy.
Yeah, we never got the
No.
second page either.
No,
Second to last page.
no. So, hold on a second. June, you know what? Let's see.
Well, if we did get it, we didn't discuss it.
We did, but it wasn't discussed with us.
Why is Cafe Services charging us for high school?
Actually, I don't even think we had a copy of the contract too.
We didn't have one, no. I had this, Andrew sent this to me before you went on holiday.
So on this page here, Cafe Services, 214-15 proposed price list, says Wakefield School District. Then it breaks out charges for high school meal deal, breakfast with breakfast sandwich. Why are they charging us for that?
I have no idea.
Where are you, Ralph?
On this on
Right
this,
here.
After addendum 7, the next page.
But that's got it at $2. Oh, no, wait a minute, that's a dollar.
that's for breakfast.
That's what it
It
is.
said, I mean, maybe perhaps this should say Milton School District, where it's addressing the elementary school, which I would think is K through 8, middle school, and then high school. Maybe they've just made a mistake and they're giving us Milton's breakdown.
Well, there's also something in here about we will provide transportation between buildings or something. I hope that wasn't added in there because they got Milton now. Now they want to be charged for, they want to be compensated for.
If that's the case, if there are changes like that in the contract about transportation for the food service the manager, we were never, ever
We didn't know anything
informed
about
of
that.
that. We didn't even know that that was the scenario when we met.
There
So
weren't any
if,
changes to the contract. From the night that it was brought to the board was approved, that contract was, next morning was signed by Andrew.
Right, but we were told nothing's changed
Mhm.
from the previous year contract.
Make a motion to leave the meal prices for the Wakefield School District at its current levels.
For the time being.
For the time being.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have to see performance before we.
Motion and second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Can you please contact Chris for us and tell him that it's adamant that we see him?
I'll write my notes.
Or Kara? Is it Kara?
Prior to the start of school.
Can we talk before we go to the meeting?
Yep. You want to meet early?
Yep.
Tell me what I need to bring. I'll have it.
Administration, staff and student handbooks. So, go ahead, Mr. Ask, has there been any changes from this year to?
In your package, you have the staff and the student handbook. As every year, it needs approval by the board, and Mr. Gregoire and Mr. Byrne are here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the handbook.
No President's Day?
The President's Day.
Still no President's Day. Has the list of staff been updated?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure? Because I looked at it and it doesn't look updated.
What looks
Service.
out of place? I heard yesterday that food service has been changed.
Has it?
That's what I've heard. I don't know who is going to be our new staff, so I think when they come in, we'll have to do an introduction. But that was something that came yesterday. We have new teachers. At the time of this printing, we didn't have the new teachers that you see in your for approval. At that point, we didn't have them hired, so that has not been changed. Other than that, I'm not quite sure if there's something that I'm missing that you picked up on.
Well, no, I mean that, my question was just, that, have there been any changes other than, say, the staff?
Oh, I thought you said you saw some, you missed.
No, are there any?
Yes,
From,
I think most significantly, the change this year, one of the changes was dress code. Probably one of our biggest headaches at times is trying to ascertain what's appropriate for kids to wear. I mean, you've got kids, when parents go out and buy the kids' shorts, kids grow. What may look okay on one middle school student may not look okay on another. And so one of our general rules has been to make a determination based on how far away the clothing is from the child's knee. Well, some kids have really long legs, so that distance is very different. So basically what we landed on was inseam, a 3-inch inseam for shorts, primarily for Bonnie, your eyebrows, raise your eyes.
That's short. That could be causing some serious viewage.
It could. I think it's. I knew what you meant.
In both points.
Bonnie, it's what we're trying to do is make it fair. We're also trying to make it appropriate. And what we looked at is 3 inches looks about right for what the fashion is and what kids and parents are able to afford and purchase. So they go out of Walmart. You can't find, the kids aren't wearing cargo shorts, the girls aren't wearing cargo shorts down to their knee. And the kids can't find it. What's that?
My girls are. They're not coming to school in 3 inches. I think that's a little short.
Is that crotch down or knee up?
It's the inseam.
So it's down.
Down.
Yes.
Crotch down.
That's
3
really
inches?
short.
Yeah,
3
that's
inches.
short.
Someone with a round derriere is going to be sticking out.
And we have to, and we also have to have some ability to tell parents if it doesn't.
How do you
And when it
say?
said- Bonnie, believe me, I have this conversation with parents fairly frequently.
Do you
It's
really?
Yeah, we do, and it's not an easy conversation to have with parents. Saying your child isn't dressed appropriately for school. I can't find clothing that fits otherwise. And so again, we are trying to make it work for everybody.
Want to go to uniforms?
If you would like to make that approval, I would certainly go with it. It would make my life much
I
easier.
would go with that.
Parents as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make that, proposal, I would certainly be in support.
Is that a motion?
Not without discussing it.
Again,
Mr.
we,
Brown's
you know,
line.
whether it's tops or bottoms, and not so much with the younger kids, we don't have this issue, but with our probably 5th grade and up, by and large.
Yeah, but
That's what we have.
yeah,
3
3
inches,
sounds
that's
awful.
We-
short.
I don't think it's that short. I mean, again, it's from the inside. It's not, again, Bonnie, if you were to look at some of the clothing that's available for girls,
Honey, you don't buy that to send your kid to school. They buy that to go to the beach.
and we have to have that discussion quite often also. We're not going to the beach today, guys, and.
You sure it's not 3 inches from the knee?
It says.
See, we were always like hand.
Hand, yeah.
But, and without sounding too,
Fingertip.
trying to be funny, I mean, if you have kids with really long arms, you know, their clothes, if we say, okay, it has to touch your fingertips, and I've got a girl who's a tall, lanky girl, there's no way she's going to find clothing that fits to her fingertips. And if I have a girl with really long legs, trying to have her have shorts that are going to come within 3 inches to her knee,
No.
But your
3 inches.
your student handbook under the dress code, it doesn't
What page is
say,
that?
it doesn't say
3.5
3 inches inseam, it says 5 inches above the top of the knee.
That's for a hole in the jeans.
Says dresses, skirts must be no shorter than 5 inches above the top of the knee, and then under that it says holes in pants that are 5 inches above the top
Page
of the knee.
14.
Shorts must be a minimum of 3 inches. Skirts and dresses must be no shorter
Oh,
than
yeah,
5
okay, I
inches
see it.
above
I'm
the
sorry.
top of the knee.
I'm sorry, yeah.
So we looked at it differently for the skirts than what you would for a pair of shorts, because inseams on shorts are much different. We actually looked
Okay.
at some of the purchasing things online, trying to figure out. Like Old Navy will tell you the inch and inseams, and Old Navy, you know, some of them are ½ inch, some of them are 1 inch, and then they go up to 3 and then up to 9. But not 9 on some female students, even male students, would be below their knee, well below their knee.
Okay. It's all about fashion. I understand that, but really, it's about modesty.
it's somewhat about fashion, Bonnie, and what kids can purchase, and because it's not easy for kids to find the clothes. They're as modest as we'd all like. Again, if we wanted to go with uniforms and say the kids are going to wear, you know, long shorts, by all means. But by and large, if the kids are going to Walmart or they're going to Old Navy, wherever they're going, those length shorts aren't typically available for, especially for girls.
So there's no,
And to go back to your statement, Bonnie, I mean, we do have that tough conversation with parents. Yes, some girls can wear that clothing. Unfortunately, your daughter's build isn't, you know, really.
But is that
conducive to both.
discriminatory?
Right.
Should we put, I mean, is it better to err on the side of modesty and have it say, you can be 3 inches above your knee? Or you have to wear bike shorts underneath, or cheering pants, or something like that. Leggings.
Leggings.
We've had all these conversations about leggings and jeggings and yoga pants and whatever it is that the fashions that the young ladies are wearing. Again, this is a conversation we have quite.
What's a jegging?
I'll have this.
jump leggings.
Jegging?
It's a conversation we'll have as soon as school starts because the weather will still be warm, and it'll be a conversation we'll be having come April.
Okay. But both of you believe that this is going to be appropriate. If you find that it's not appropriate,
We'll be addressing, again, if we have to address kids who are not, their bodies are not conducive to this limitation, we'll have to address that. Yeah, no, we have to. I mean, because not everybody's built the same, and they're not all gonna have the same appropriate clothing, and we have to address that, and that's part of our job.
If you do look under that line, there's a line at the very end of that says administration reserves the right to allow exceptions to the dress code for special occasions and circumstances. So if we find that there's an issue there, we could use that as
Prom or something like that.
Good.
Thank you. Mr. Gregoire or Mr. Byrne, either of you, maybe you can also explain the process you went through in determining the 3 inch, not necessarily in detail.
To be a
but
fly on the wall
Who
and
was
trying to figure this out. You know, we
so
brought in
the
a couple
board
of
knows
parents.
That it wasn't just your decision?
No.
No, it wasn't. Male and female, I brought in, you know, a couple of staff, female staffs that have helped me figure this out. What's appropriate based on what's out there and available. So we had to sit there and, again, with rulers and measuring and saying, okay, how do we figure this out? What's going to be the best thing for the school and what's going to be fair to both parents and kids and staff? So it wasn't, you know, we didn't sit here and just on a whim and say, oh, let's go 3 inches. We labored over this, trying to figure out what was going to be the best thing.
Well,
Will staff and administration set the example by applying these same rules to themselves?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would hope so.
I would,
You
I'm
would-
sure that the administration will make sure that the staff is adhering to the proper dress code.
Can you imagine a kindergarten teacher playing on the floor with 3 inches? Give me a break.
I just would hope that the adults set the example.
Have you seen what that looks like, really?
It's not attractive.
It's not attractive.
well, what is dress code in the,
You wouldn't get away with that at Spalding. No way, no how.
You would be sent home
You would be sent
immediately.
home, I would be driving to Rochester.
I don't think it's appropriate for younger kids. Never mind older ones. That's way too short.
you
Sorry.
wanna make it 19 inches?
I would say a minimum of 6.
Yes, I agree.
Minimum of 6.
I
And
was gonna say 5.
Well, they come 3, 6, and 9.
Right, so go with 6.
Because you can get petite, regular, or tall. And you can get them anywhere.
All this fashion talk.
That
is
rules
just-
out all soccer shorts. Soccer shorts are cut at 3 inches for the most part. Like sports shorts, like soccer shorts and stuff. I'm just giving you
Special
an example.
occasions and circumstances. Do you let the kids run around in soccer shorts? No, they should be wearing them to play soccer. Change it to 6 inches and call it good. Because I don't think 3 inches is appropriate.
You know what? Maybe in the younger grades, you know, like, but when the girls get older, 3 inches is definitely not long enough. And I don't know what parent would buy that type of clothing for school.
No shorts, just pants.
Wow.
Uniforms.
Don't go down the uniform trail.
No, I
It'll
don't.
be a white sheep or a black sheep. Brown cow or
I remember my
polka dot
daughter being
cow.
sent home because she raised her arms and her stomach showed. So, now, that's not acceptable.
I don't know. All due respect, I just think 3 inches is just way too short. I could, you know, I just can't even imagine. You're gonna have 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Running around.
Holy cow. That's 3
Yeah,
inches.
no.
Hello, I know.
That's like, what do they call those? Booty
can't-
shorts or something?
I don't think I'm gonna feel comfortable with that.
What's that?
It's from the inseam.
The inseam starts.
The inseam starts on a girl
So,
where your inseam would stop. Right at the seam, right in the middle. 3 inches.
What would the board like to do?
That's pretty short.
Change it.
Yeah.
I can't approve that.
I'm not approving it.
Would you
I wouldn't wear
approve it
3
with
inches.
an amendment to being 5 inches at the, or 6 inches at the inseam? If that was amended to specifically, I mean, my fashion sense is, you know,
I don't know how you police that anyways, because everybody's gonna be different look.
Mr. Gregoire's gonna have a role.
No, he's
I don't know how you're gonna police that anyways.
Well, I know.
I mean-
3 inches or 6 inches.
In all honesty, even when the child sits down, 3 inches becomes nothing. If an adult sits down, male or female, 3 inches becomes nothing. So thigh down is showing. And that's just not appropriate for a classroom. We get concerned over what people say. We get concerned over hair color and hairstyles, or if you've got a hat on, a little more, you know, that's
All
a
right.
distraction.
6 inch or 9 inch?
I would go 9.
You don't know what the mothers of daughters would say.
I would go
Well, with the
9.
fathers of daughter, yeah, I'd go.
I would go 9. I'm sorry. That's appropriate dress for children to
Ralph,
be
what are you
coming to
wearing?
school.
huh?
What are you wearing, Ralph?
I stayed at the 2.5 myself, but I'm safe.
Priscilla, you got that ruler?
Michael?
I really want the board to be cognizant, which I'm sure you are, of what parents can buy right now in a 9-inch inseam. I know that.
We've
I
all
already
just
did
been
school
school shopping.
I know. I know.
I think,
You have
I
to
think
look.
the average is 6
Trust me.
that everybody wears.
I'm shocked.
Well,
for
I
I
wouldn't
don't
say
care
that.
what
I
everybody
wouldn't say that
wears.
because everybody wears.
And if you
different
have a
things.
couple pairs of shorts that are 3 inches, you wear them after school or
Some
on the
3 inches.
weekends. It's not appropriate for the
There's,
building.
okay, here we go.
I was
There's
making-
3,
Sit down with that, Bob, and show me what it looks
So I
like.
was asking her to do that.
here's 6.
My comment was based on the 9-inch inseam.
I have to say a
3 inch.
9-inch would be a traditional Bermuda short.
Right.
A golf short, a Bermuda short, not necessarily the most attractive for a 8th grade girl, but you can do a light cargo short with no pants and with no pockets, 6 inches, very modest, very appropriate. You can do denim that. I mean, if you go to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
You said 6 inches?
6, I mean 9.
I'd support.
That's the 5 inches above the knee,
Yep.
right there.
Right there.
Shorts included.
Can you use?
Yes.
Can you go
Are you
down?
on Abercrombie?
No, I went to another, I went to Rochester trying to find dress code, and Rochester's is we looked at it last year. It says no more than 5 inches above the knee, and we looked at it trying to figure out that could be shorter than 3 inches on some students. That was the issue. On younger students, that was our biggest issue. I'm just letting you know that was our
5
that,
inches above the knee.
on younger students that could be less than 3 inches. We looked at that. That's why we tried to say it.
So knee length. Call it good.
What's that?
Knee length. That's what it used to be. Sorry. I did school shopping already.
Me too.
Theirs are down to their knees. They're not coming to school in Gucci shorts.
Amen.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, you're a daddy of 2 little girls.
Right.
You're shopping
Are
too.
you going to send your kid to school in 3-inch shorts? I didn't think so.
Your wife would never allow them to step out of the
How
house.
about you
two?
guys
Ankle
answering that
length
question?
I know. You, what
Come
would you
on.
guys think?
What would you guys do?
3 what
3
would you
inches?
What would
I
you
made
let your
I
child?
made my daughter go up and change if she came down in anything less than
6.
Knee length.
Appropriate.
6 or over.
Half
Yes.
the thigh.
When you sit, the shortest they should come is middle. I mean, that's just
I guess I'll make a comment. I agree, 3 inches is short. And I think if you're thinking about a kindergartner and you're measuring from the knee up, it's not as observable as if it's a 5th grader and you're measuring from the knee up. So you might not have a kindergartner brought to you with a shorter short because they're little and their shorts are little and their legs are little. But I wouldn't want to see my older child in 3 inches inseam. Sorry.
Ralph, what'd you come
Well,
up
in
with?
school anyways.
Right.
What's your inseam?
He needs, centimeter, so
And I'm sure you did do a lot of research and I don't, it just does seem like it's.
Hey, I represent the lollipop kids, and my inseam
I
is
mean, the consensus here is it's too short.
So what do you wanna do, 6 or 9?
9.
6.
Anybody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend the student and staff handbook. I guess staff is setting the example.
The staff one says follow the students.
To an inseam of 6 inches.
Half the thigh.
that's not going to be half the thigh when they sit down.
Right.
But are they going off when they're sitting down? Or that's what they're not measuring that way.
Honey, you have to. Kids sit down.
But I'm saying they're not
75% of the
measuring
day.
it that way,
I,
right? You're not measuring it when they're sitting down.
Doesn't matter.
We don't measure it anyway.
I'm not measuring.
I hope you're not
No,
measuring.
I'm saying to come up with that. To
We
come up
s-
with that.
We just kind of, for us, when we were
9.
trying to determine this, we were looking at ourselves and measuring and saying, okay, from a standing position.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think without a second, my motion may fail.
I think you might be correct for once, Mr. Bond.
I mean, I remember dress codes where it was, you put your hands down and that's where wouldn't that be a better way to, then you don't have to measure?
And have a number.
It's,
have
we're
a
trying to make it
number?
quantitative, again, because kids in such different shapes and sizes, and again, I'll use examples, some very tall girls with long arms, that would mean they're wearing a skirt just above the knee or right at the knee, and they had shorts that would be appropriate, they were appropriate, but if they showed too much leg above the knee, they were being sent down to us. And again, trying to be fair to them also, that, trying to penalize them for being tall and
Yeah,
you know,
it's a
trying to
hard
find the
call.
fashion.
It
really
the same thing.
That would be
Excessive.
my
excessive?
concern is
I think that's-
cause rebellion, would
I
it
think
cause
that's
more
discriminatory.
trips to the principal's office because they're not complying with the 90
You certainly don't want to embarrass kids either, being being spoken to by the
Exactly.
teacher for their clothing being inappropriate.
What's excessive? 3 inches?
Can we ask
6
about
inches?
something else? What about the excessive cleavage? Everybody has a different idea of what's acceptable and not from household to household.
Yeah. Again, some of our difficult conversations that we have to have
Is cover up.
is cover up. Well, how come and I'll hear from
Jacket.
kids sometimes, I wore 2 weeks ago and no one said anything, no one picked up on it. They're wearing a cover or whatever it might be.
We saw it today. Don't let it happen again.
And that's how we deal with it, we missed it then, but we caught it now.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Bottom line, the administration to determine what is considered appropriate or not. Teachers bring that to their attention.
We
will
often
not
send
be-
them to the nurse.
Yeah, we will not be measuring them.
No,
Social
so
worker or nurse.
if it's female.
Regardless
Yeah,
of
but
the wording, if it appears as being inappropriate for school, it's being addressed.
Right, but how do you, what, your definition of excessive to anyone else's definition of excessive could be totally different. And now you're having, kids show up to school and you have a problem with it, but the parent says
Yeah,
it's excessive.
You can just
But to
say,
me, that's not my, the parent could say, that's not my definition of excessive. That's,
but if you start putting like 3 inches in there and they're,
What
and you
was it
make
last year?
determinations, you can't do
What
that
did
because
it
they're
say
gonna say
last
it's
year?
3
I think
inches,
it was
sorry, it
similar
works.
last year. Why can't you just say cleavage, exposed cleavage will not be tolerated?
There, that works.
Not excessive, exposed. Cover up. You're not going to the beach.
You'll have some angry teachers.
And that includes the teachers.
So here's a statement. A good rule of thumb when checking the length of skirts or shorts is that they should reach the student's fingertips when he or she puts their arms by their sides. The school administration reserves the right to make that determination.
I'm sure that's the research you already looked up.
This one doesn't talk about cleavage.
Why, instead of low-cut tops, why can't you just say exposed cleavage? Wouldn't that make it a lot easier?
We could.
Don't have to define excessive, cleavage.
As
Yeah.
was mentioned, that might make it hard for staff members too. They might have to,
Buy a top that fits?
Oh, wow.
Too bad.
just a low cut top. Any top that comes down might.
Cover up.
Oh, well,
Wear
cover
a
up.
tank.
You're setting your
You're
example.
setting the modest example. You know what? If one of our teachers is bending over and their bra is sticking out, that's inappropriate. I'm not saying that they have to wear full-length cotton jumpers, but they should be appropriate.
Only in America.
Sorry.
You know what? That's what's wrong with the public school system, is that just a little too much is being allowed.
Hey, I was in here one time last year and I saw a skirt that I thought was a little short on one of our teachers, especially when she bent over. I didn't think it was appropriate. So our teachers need to adhere to it as well.
was it a 3 inch or a 6 inch?
By the time she bent over, it was like 0 inch, okay? So it's not appropriate.
All right, so what do we want to do? We've had a motion for 6 inch, and that failed for the lack of a second. Now we have what the definition of excessive is. So anybody want to make a motion on a 9 inch inseam?
I don't think you can put a number on it. because
think you can put
they're
them
gonna
on.
have to go to the store and buy a 9-inch inseam pair of pants.
Right, so you'd probably be better off
Doing the
bottom of your,
Right.
your,
The
yeah.
fingertip.
Dresses, skirts, and shorts must be no shorter than 5 inches above the top of the knee.
Oh, yeah, but why not just do it to the bottom
Yeah,
of your,
just do the fingertip and then,
To the bottom of your fingertips, yeah.
and Mr.
Do it.
Gregoire can make the exception for the kids that have the really, really long arms.
Well, they're
you know?
really, really, really long legs.
Right.
It's better than having really, really short arms.
Only put
That could be a
Which could be a
problem.
problem in itself.
Right?
Mr. Jersey?
Mr. Berg, did you have the wording from Rochester's dress code?
Rochester's dress code says shorts, a skirt, shorts, outermost layer, in parentheses, must be no more than 5 inches above the knee.
Good.
I would recommend we go with the wording that Rochester utilizes because our kids are going in, majority of our kids are going into Spalding, therefore they'd be accustomed to the dress code that's in Rochester.
What's their stance on cleavage? I just think exposed cleavage, period. Simple, done. Will not be allowed.
Do they have something like that?
I'm looking right now. It says undergarments including boxer shorts, bra straps showing not allowed. Let's see, I'm scrolling. Doesn't reference whether it's allowed or not allowed. It doesn't say anything to that, so we could just take that out in its
I don't
entirety.
think so, because I think that's important. If you have a 6th grader that's got a Wonder Bra on and it doesn't belong there, you need to be able to tell the parent and have a policy to say, I'm sorry, your child needs to cover up.
The only thing that they have is tops must have a minimum of a 2-inch shoulder strap.
They used to have a thong one in there, believe it or not. Seriously.
Well, they have an
They
undergarment
couldn't
one.
expose their thong. And it was
Well,
right
yeah, in
there.
high school.
It was in high school.
Yeah, I know, in high school. They have that still. Nothing can be showing.
What
So
about
the-
tops that, I don't know.
Tops the only thing they mention in tops in Rochester is a minimum of a 2-inch shoulder strap, which we already have in ours. But there's, and as I said, I think they cover the cleavage part. I think what they're trying to do with that part that you're questioning is that it says no bra straps can be showing. So none of the bra could be showing. If that's showing, then your top is too low and you'd have an issue. And I think that covers that cleavage part.
well, wouldn't that allow?
I think
That's
if,
not-
I don't think you have a
bras?
young lady in your house, do you, other than your wife?
That's not cleavage, huh?
No, I
Because bra straps are these. That means it like.
Yeah, this is up here.
no, I understand what you're saying.
If
But
you remove,
honestly, if they get a V-neck,
if you remove your bra straps won't be showing.
Oh my god. Cleavage and bra
Right, so
straps are
I
two
mean, wouldn't
different
that
things.
be, with that kind of verbiage, wouldn't that allow that? Bra straps should not be showing.
how about just
If they're not there, they're not showing.
tops that
No exposed cleavage. It's that easy.
no exposed cleavage?
I was trying to be serious for one.
I know, but you can't have people taking off their bras in school and walking around like that. Sorry.
I'm addressing the verbiage of the thing there, just saying,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, we have a line in ours that say no undergarments of any type are able to be visible at any time.
But you have to understand that in today's society, with the way things are crafted, you may not see a bra, but you might see 55% of everything else.
Mr. Jersey?
Bonnie, do you have some recommended wording?
I just think that exposed cleavage will not be tolerated.
I think it might sound better if they say not allowed than tolerated.
Wonderful. I'm a little
Fine.
more harsh than you. Tolerated is a word that's used at my house, maybe not
This dress
yours.
code has acceptable,
the boards
what's
are-
acceptable and what's unacceptable. And for shirts, unacceptable, has low necklines in parentheses, cleavage. It's pretty.
Pretty cut and dry right there.
Yep. Covers it all.
What was that wording?
Literally.
Get it? Covers it all.
What was the
So
wording
would it be
again?
that we?
Just,
Unacceptable.
This puts what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. And it says under the unacceptable for shirts, blouses, and tops, low necklines, in parentheses, cleavage. So in other words, it's unacceptable to show cleavage. everything to be.
So that would also include page 14.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So if we were to change the wording around the short length, the skirt length, and the cleavage to reflect what the board is asking, would you approve it at that point?
Well, actually, you already have in here, dresses and shirts must be no shorter than 5 inches above the top of the knee. You already have that, so you could just take out
I'm just,
the
yeah.
short
I'm just
piece.
saying, if that were the will of the board, that sounds like the will of the board, we make these changes, you would approve at that point.
So
sir.
on,
Yes,
on-
sir.
Approve it now based on, with those
Yep.
changes in mind.
So,
on page 14, you'd strike the line, shorts must have a minimum of a 3-inch insert. You'd just take that line right
Take
out
it out.
of it.
Take it out.
Take care of it.
And then we'll just leave that, the next one, dresses and skirts must be no shorter than 5 inches above the.
dresses, skirts, and shorts
right.
must be no
Shorts.
shorter than 5 inches above the top, and then blouses, tops with low necklines, cleavage, in parentheses.
That's gonna, you wanna replace that with the excessive cleavage
Right.
We'll
Yep.
take that out,
piece?
yeah.
And what,
Blouses and tops with low necklines, cleavage.
Why don't they just putting in that, again, something the way that you originally worded that being,
yeah,
exposed cleavage won't be allowed. Just be, not going through all the other verbiage on that, just be very clear with it. And,
I think.
Can I
that,
just
be
write tops
more-
with,
no, I'm just gonna say, I'd like to just say about exposed cleavage.
Right.
That's what I had said, if you just
That's what
say
I'm saying. I'm
exposed
just-
cleavage,
Just we're gonna make it very simple, and rather
Right.
than, again, all this other verbiage, and
Yeah.
yep,
get clear to the point.
I will make a motion to approve as amended.
And that's just no cleavage, correct?
Correct.
In the 5 inches, correct? Did you, all right, everybody got that? Is there a second?
items that it's tops that exposed?
I'll second it.
Thought Ralph was gonna say
No,
something.
I-
Motion and a second? What? Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll fix that.
Who seconded that?
Bob.
Bob,
Now, are you approving just the dress code or the whole?
The whole thing,
the
as
whole thing
amended.
as
amended.
amended,
Staff and student, correct?
Staff.
staff and student.
How did Ralph vote?
He doesn't know.
I'm just.
I thought I
Hail
heard.
to the homogenization of America, that's all.
Grant review.
I'll speak briefly on this. Mr. Brown, I'm sure there's any questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Jersey.
Included in your packet, you have our Title II A grant application, our Title I A grant application, and you also have our Title I-A Priority Focus Set Aside grant application. That set aside is actually set aside from our overall Title I allocation. So those two are part of Title I. So you have Title II-A and Title I-A grants in front of you. And this is what we apply for the state. We get an allocation every year. We've always gotten an allocation. And we have to apply for the use of those funds. And this, what you see here, and you've seen in the past, this year, this is the actual application that we fill in, submit to the State Department for approval. And you can see that there are breakdowns in the application of the amount of funds per activity, and that's how it's laid out as we apply.
So
Go ahead, Ralph.
my only concern is are these historical approvals? And if so, why wouldn't the section of the box that says first approved, why wouldn't that reflect the history?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because it hasn't been approved for this year yet, because we, as I had indicated earlier this year, I would bring it to the board for their review. So we have not submitted it for approval at this point. So what we do from this point on is we submit the application to the state. The state reviews it, and they would send it back as approved, or we might have to make adjustments to the application, and then it would become approved. So once the state approves it, you would see in that line right there, approved and at what date.
Well, this should go through the grant review committee.
We actually had voted on these before, and what we said that we would approve them for this year because that's the big discussion that we had, and that the grant review committee would start for next year's. But what we asked to have changed was the verbiage in regards to Common Core, because there was verbiage in regards to Common Core in here, and we wanted that removed to indicate the standards that we were going to.
This whole grant is Common Core.
No, it's not.
Oh, it absolutely is. It really is.
All right.
It is.
That's your opinion.
No, it's more than my opinion. If you do research on it, research-based, rigorous, and aligned with academic content standards of the New Hampshire Department of Education is Common Core. It is Common Core. There absolutely is not. The other, if you go to, where is it? In Title I, Part A, the
What page, Mr. Brown? The bottom page.
26. 26. That's Common Core. Do some research and look up the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. They right on their website, their position statement is promoting the Common Core state standards. And now we have another Common Core conference. It's Common Core. Why are we especially the whole? No, these are Common Core. Why would we bother sending people to once again? We sent people to a Common Core conference this summer. Now we're going to do it again next April.
Mary's hands up.
Mary.
The National Council of Teachers of Mathematics brings in strategies of mathematics instruction, not standards. Standards are what you're talking about as far as Common Core. What the workshops are all about is how to teach mathematics and how to get kids to think like mathematicians.
But it is Common Core.
If there are Common Core workshops in that, the teachers would not be participating.
But the position statement of the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics is promoting Common Core standards. That's their position statement on their own website. They're promoting Common Core. That is Common Core. Bonnie.
I'm going to say on that, it's fine if that's their statement, but it's just like going to any other business that you don't 100% agree with. If you can get things out of that business and bring back and better what your goals are for your own building, there's no reason that you can't utilize that as an ally.
Prove it.
Honey, there are people.
Prove it.
Honey, there are people that I deal with that I don't necessarily agree with their business structure, but I need parts from them. So you have to buy the parts because you have to do your job.
You're also losing in this, okay? You're losing 15 instructional days to go to a Common Core conference. Is that in the best interest of the children? No, it's not. You're losing 15 instructional days on that one trip.
Is this vacation?
You're not losing 15 instructional days. The conference is a 4-day conference, 3 nights.
15
It is
through
not
the 18.
15.
It would be 15 total because 5 teachers attend.
Correct.
And you're hiring 5 substitutes for 4 days. It's Common Core. Why are we wasting our money? Well, why don't we have curriculum development on the 2013 math standard? The children would be far better suited with that than going to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics who were promoting Common Core?
Probably because they wouldn't align with the textbook math program that we approved last year.
Well, that's another thing. Now you have the Common Core curriculum coming out. That's another, now they put, first they did the Common Core standards. Now they're doing Common Core curriculum. And we voted to reject Common Core. And apparently we're not rejecting it. It was still sending people and accepting grants that are Common Core.
Mr. Brown?
Go ahead, Mr. Jersey.
Thank you. I just have a question. So how do we resolve the trust issue? Bottom line, that's what we need to discuss, because we need the trust of the board in making decisions in these grant applications, that we know how the board feels around topics such as Common Core, that we will not be sending people to professional development around Common Core. We're making decisions about professional development based on experience of what is best for teachers and instruction. So how do we resolve the trust issue so we can move forward and provide professional development that is necessary to improve instruction, that's required for recertification, and that we are also addressing the needs of our students? How do we do that? How do we resolve that issue?
I don't know. From what I've seen, I don't know. Because I don't know how many times I've been lied to, or we have been lied to about this. So I don't know how you address a trust issue when you've been repeatedly lied to. So I don't have the answer to that question.
Okay, are you feeling that way from this current administration, that you've been lied to?
Absolutely.
And do you have examples?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, then we should have that conversation.
Well,
These grants are, Title I and Title II are federal monies.
Yes, sir. That we've been receiving for years. Your Title IIA, again, we could always refer back to the description of the grants, the specific grants that we've provided. Their Title IIA is around professional development, and your Title I is to service those students that qualify based on free and reduced numbers, as well as their academic standing, and I should say their ability around mathematics and reading.
it's Common Core. They're just calling it something else now. But it's Common Core. The children aren't being helped with this. That's the problem I'm having with it. The children are not being taken care of everyone else. But where do the kids fit into this? The kids are not being serviced like they should be. This is not helping the children.
How can you say that? If we're sending teachers out to bring tools back that help all of the classes,
Of Common Core.
will you stop
but
with
she's
the
saying-
whole Common Core?
No, I won't stop with the whole thing of the Common
Because it's
Core.
your opinion.
No, it's more than it's a matter of fact.
It could be a matter of fact for you, but what I think is okay and what you think is okay, you can't put words into other people's mouths. So it's your opinion when
I'm
you're
not
speaking
putting
like
words
this.
I'm going online doing research,
We all are.
okay? And it clearly is, this conference is clearly a Common Core. They're promoting, go on their website, they're promoting Common Core state standards. And this is why they're having a conference. What? Why do we have to, why don't we do it in-house? We have a curriculum coordinator, why can't we do all this stuff in-house? We want professional development, have in-house professional development. So then you know what you're getting, instead of paying everyone else. This is the other big thing that they're doing. They want to farm everything out, which creates jobs. Why do we have to spend $7,700 to send 5 people to Boston on a Common Core conference? That $7,700 would be better utilized in curriculum development. Mr. Terzi.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I want to point out that the 25%, I want to go back to the comment about this isn't providing services for students. The majority of our Title I is our reading specialist and our Title I coordinator salaries that specifically work directly with students. And also that's 75% of their salaries are in Title I, 25% of their salary. The other 25% is in Title IIA because they're providing support for teachers around instruction, and that has an ultimate impact on student learning. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that students are receiving direct services based on the monies that are within those grants.
Common Core.
Michael,
Yes.
who's writing the grants? Because we're taking grants for administrative support for grant management. I mean, who's actually doing it?
Our Title I coordinator, Jen Levitt, writes the grants and works with Mr. Gregoire as well as Ms. Wilson. to
Right,
write
and
those grants.
Jen, and help me understand, because Jen Levitt gets a
Which
salary.
one are you looking at, Norma, if you would, please?
Jen Levitt gets one
Which page
It's
you
gonna
on?
be Title I and Title II.
Right.
Yeah, there was,
There's a grant management, I just closed
Yeah.
the thing because I was looking for
The
something
stipends.
else.
Right there.
Okay. So,
what page?
28 is one.
25 is one, 28 is one. So I guess what I don't get is we're applying for grants, for grant management support, but we're getting a grant to pay Jen Levitt or whomever is doing this a salary. Why are we applying for more grants to cover that? Shouldn't the salary cover it if that's what she's doing? It just makes no sense. We keep doing grant after grant after grant. $446 for a grant. That's why? If we're already paying these people salaries to do this.
Nah.
Sure.
So the additional monies are for hours above and beyond her teacher contract. She's hired as a teacher, and all the work that is done outside of her teacher contract, that those monies cover that.
Okay,
So
so
those
she,
are hours outside of her normal
okay,
contract
I
hours.
totally get that, but there's some of this stuff. We're getting a grant for parental involvement, family engagement, general for $1,000.
That's required.
Some of this
And
stuff
examples
just-
of that. Can you give us examples of where those monies are used?
Right.
Is it like on the Striganona night? Is it like the family English night and the math nights and
Yes.
things like that, where you
Yes.
pull the parents in to help them
Yes,
educate
and
their
that-
kids?
And that is for supplies for that particular night.
The spring event where Caroline McMullen would do the parental
Striganona, yeah.
where the parents come in and we do a number of different stations around books and stories, and I think this year Mr. Terzi came. We did a story night, and we were reading stories and telling tales, and again exposing kids to different types of literature. We probably had 45, 50 kids come to that.
Yep.
some of these grants, it just seems
Would
a
you-
little performance measurement, mileage to Title I meetings. We really wrote a grant for $200?
For the travel from Wakefield to Concord, that's where the Title I meetings are.
There's multiple during the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a one-time.
So that covers mileage for our Title I coordinator to attend.
I don't agree with all these little things. I'm sorry, but we're taking grants, which is federal funding, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
For mileage, I don't know.
Yeah.
This just doesn't make any sense, and that's why I think we need to have the grant review committee to go through these, because some of it just,
Can we wait for this to go through the grant review committee, please?
Not at this time. You have salaries that are being paid out of that.
Yeah, well, that's the other problem. These
Right.
already started. Why are we just getting them now?
We had them
We
a few
had them.
months ago. We had them 2
No,
months ago.
aren't these new ones?
No.
Yeah, these
These
are
are
new.
new, this is our new allotment of monies in these grants. And I'd signed the assurances last month
Mm-hmm.
under the
Okay.
impression that
So these are new ones.
these are new for this current school year coming up.
No.
So the board asked that I bring these for your review,
But-
and we've just written these applications, therefore they're coming to you for your review, and there isn't anything above and beyond at this point that's additional to what we've been providing all along for Title I services and Title IIA.
But we need these before they start.
And you're getting them as soon as we were able to apply for them, because our allotment doesn't come, it came, what, 3-4 weeks ago?
The start date.
So it took us this long to write the application, and therefore now it's in your hands.
Right, but we have a grant for a grant manager, but we have another grant for administrative support for the grant manager.
The administrative.
Why wouldn't they be the same?
The administrative support is the indirect costs. The indirect costs are things like Susan's time to cut the checks for the grant itself. It's for any other administrative fees that would necessarily come in, just because we have to take care of the money, and we have to make sure that the money is spent correctly, that kind of thing. So that's what that administrative fee is. It's a percentage that the state allows us to have. Our percentage this year is 3.1% of the total cost of the grant.
We're allowed to keep that 3 point?
It is for people calling up as far as the questions on invoices that Susan has to deal with, cutting the checks, making sure that all of those kind of housekeeping things are correct. It is for the administrative costs of the grant.
Well,
So with an operating budget, bottom line budget type of operating expenses, we don't have the money available to pay the teachers' salaries without these federal funds?
Correct.
Even though we're turning $800 and something thousand back to the town this year?
Correct. We did not put this in the operating budget, these salaries. However, we pay out of the operating budget, it's reimbursed by these grant monies. So there's this gray area that's included in the operating budget.
So because of the grants, the application for the grants, we need to make assurances, right? That certain things are performed before we get the money. The money's in the operating budget, raised and appropriated by the town's people, the voters. And I don't know what the total number of these grants total up to, but I don't think it's $850,000. I don't know. I just don't, I hope I'm not being told that these teachers and everybody involved here can't perform their duties without this federal money. Is that what I'm hearing?
good.
They wouldn't get paid without these federal monies, because we do not have their salaries in our operating budget. So if we're moving forward and you want to keep a Title I coordinator and a reading specialist and not take the Title I monies to pay for that, then you put that in your operating budget for next year. Same thing with a parent involvement night. If you want to have the funds to put on a parent involvement night, then you put that in your operating budget, and you don't have it coming out of a grant. If you want to increase your professional development line because you don't want it coming out of Title IIA, you can do that as well in your operating budget. So these are all.
It just looks, sometimes it looks like there's more jobs being created just to suck up the federal money.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
That was my question, because I thought at one point we had somebody who handled the grants.
We did, but the job was expunged
Right.
because there wasn't enough
But wait a minute,
hours.
but the other person that was on staff was going to take care of that portion of it. So whatever happened to that?
it was the business administrative aspect of it, keeping track of the reporting. That was what that grant position was. They were not responsible for actually writing the grants. They were responsible for the fiscal accounting of the grant monies. And
That's
why it
not
was
the way I
taken on by the
understood it.
business administrator.
That's not the way I understood that. I understood it to be that one of the other ladies in the office was taking it over, and they thought that she was fully qualified to take that over, which is why we didn't need to have a separate person to do that. So,
That's why we eliminated that
I
position.
took that as just the administrative part of it, not the in-house here part of it.
Right. So
The
what's-
implementation of it.
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
Is that the right word?
The writing of it happens here.
Okay.
The fiscal management happens at the SAU level.
And that's okay, but what I'm thinking is, we just gave back how much to the town?
800 and,
Okay, but we're taking a grant for $1,000?
It's more
Why
than
would we
that.
tie ourselves to federal money
That's
for
just
one
one
of these
activity.
grants? Wait.
I'm following you.
The tutoring support services, instruction, page 29. First approved, activity 30211, 1,000, am I reading this right, or are my contacts cloudy? $1,000.
But those are activities within the total grant.
Okay, so, again, why would we be doing that? We can't come up with $1,000?
go ahead, Mr. Thursday.
Thank you. Just a comment on the $800,000. Remember that was based on high school tuition. We did not have as many students attend, which we can't predict, as well as out-of-district placements. We were saved money there, which we can't predict. So that was, that was unanticipated monies that were
Okay.
coming back. So I see your point.
Do you see where I'm going with
I'm
this?
not tying it to the $800,000 because those are unanticipated monies.
But with a bottom line budget, things get shifted and, covered. There, and legally, it's done that way.
Fine.
Can I just be clarified that I'm looking at this, and the things that are in here, we can choose in our budget process this year to say, we're not gonna take these federal loans next year or federal grants next year, but in the next coming budget, we're gonna change our budget method.
Absolutely.
But at this point, we didn't budget like that for 2014-15. So if we don't take these
That's what I'm hearing
monies,
too.
the Title I programs and the teachers will not have salaries to work in the building. Isn't this the same discussion we've had before?
But that's
It's a different aspect of the same
Different
discussion.
aspect, but the same discussion.
Correct.
It's like, even with the assurances, we didn't want, and it took us 3 motions to get through the assurances. But it all boils down to, it did,
I know.
but if it all
It really
boils
did.
down to, we didn't prepare our budget correctly for not taking the money, if that's what us, the 5 of us as a board are gonna choose to do. So,
But our operating budget for this year has already been approved.
Right.
With the same amount of money, or a little bit more than the last year where we sent back 850.
And 650 the year before that.
so what does that tell you? That tells me that we tell everybody, cut everything 20%, we're gonna pinch pennies and we're gonna make it happen in-house, is what I would say.
It tells me that we don't need the federal monies. We can
Right.
cover our business.
We may be
Which-
able to do that, but we have to budget for it.
What about the West Ed?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
that's
part of
what
a
I was
grant?
just-
Do you know anything we have to?
If we have in their consulting services, we don't pinpoint a specific.
But do we need it? Do we
I
need to have
feel-
West Ed come in
I
here?
feel we need a consultant to come in and assist.
I think we should do it in-house.
What does the consultant do?
Works with our teachers specifically on curriculum development.
And how long-
Coordinated it.
How long's he been doing
Works
that?
with it. 2 years?
Up here, wait, was
2
he
years,
here?
I think.
I think he only really came last year.
No, we
It's-
had him the year before briefly. I can't.
Where
it was a
Is
short-
he
short
who
amount of time.
replaced Mahesh Mashan?
No, he's
No.
someone else that
Someone
comes in.
else.
So you get
Somebody
both of, they're
else.
both coming in now?
Well, Mahesh was specifically pinpointing math.
Math.
Yep.
Whereas West Ed is a general overall curriculum development.
I think we should do consulting should stay in-house.
Well, what if
That's
you don't
what-
have someone that can do it for you?
Well, we have Mary.
But Mary is a curriculum coordinator, but maybe she doesn't specialize in how to teach long division.
Well, actually, I can't.
Well, you can, but do you know what I mean? There are things,
Teacher can't.
well, you can, but maybe
Yeah.
that's not what everybody's
No,
forte is.
And on that as well, just that also Mary's position is 2 districts. So if we're doing curriculum development, SAU-wide, we also have someone to help support the curriculum development piece, and that's where Kevin Perks has been coming into play. We've also had Rob Akuziak come in and work with our math teachers.
Betty Erickson.
And Betty Erickson, so these are all people I've worked with before. So again, it comes back to if we don't want to take these monies, then we should be building them into the budget
For next year.
For next year, and we got to make sure that if the thought process is about not taking them this year, then those particularly salary lines are going to be over, and there's potential to go back to the taxpayers, ask for additional funds to cover.
So is the curriculum thing gonna be ongoing?
Yep, we set a goal for 2 years, particularly for
So,
The
2
next 2
years,
years.
right, and we've had him coming here for 2 years?
But he
Is
was
that-
doing Common Core.
So is he gonna be working on the new standards?
Yeah.
Does he
Oh,
know?
He already has been.
Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, but again, my thing is why, if we don't have to take $17,000 or whatever that price tag is, and we could find a way to do it in-house with assistance, wouldn't it make more sense to not tie ourselves to that federal money?
that's your decision.
Pros and cons, what are they?
The pros and cons to what?
Taking grants.
To what? To
For taking the grants. What are the pros and cons to each one of them?
The con, I can give you one con to it.
String to that.
Compromising your oath of your elected office. When you state that you promise to protect your sovereignty, which is part of your state constitution, accepting federal funding compromises your own oath. That's a con to me.
And the pro is that you're providing services to students utilizing these monies that might not necessarily be provided if you can't raise and appropriate that locally.
If you
can't.
Correct.
raise and appropriate.
That's what I'm saying, and that's the pro. So if the community doesn't want to raise and appropriate the monies for those services, then those students do not receive those services.
But the history
That's the
here,
pro.
and the history here in Wakefield is, you see a need, we raise and appropriate to meet the need. Not
So-
necessarily a want, but a need.
So you can raise that in your budget building process that's coming up very shortly.
How long have we been using consultants?
Oh, long time.
Prior to my being here.
Forever?
Yeah.
Forever. I
Long
can't,
time.
we've been doing, because before we went in-house, when Linda Stimson came in, when Linda Stimson came in, we were still all outsourcing everything. Everybody went everywhere, and then she kind of consolidated everything, and we worked as Milton Wakefield together to do it. But
Hasn't been here forever, because I've been here forever, and we weren't doing out-of-house stuff when Tim Long was principal.
you know what? I'm so sure that teachers have been going to seminars and extra learning pieces
Well, but
forever, because there's so much that they have to get every
But-
year to.
My question was, how long have we been bringing consultants in? Not going to conferences, but how long have we been bringing consultants in?
Prior to me being here.
Linda Stimson, because she would format, and that's when we even changed our schedules to kind of all of our Wednesdays that were half days or our teacher workshops, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we decided to mesh, and we'd hire someone, and then they'd get together in one of the conferences, and we'd have one here and one there and one here, and the teachers could kind of go where they needed to go for different times throughout the day and get their education that way. But now that we're going in two different directions, you can't necessarily mesh the two together.
So Wakefield suffers again.
No.
No, not at all.
Why would you say that? Just because we're choosing to go down a different path doesn't mean the children suffer at all. We just have to go at a different angle.
We've already been moving forward, Mr. Brown,
Well,
on curriculum development based on those standards, because that was the vote of the board. So
So-
we haven't stopped.
What do they need from us tonight? Or is it
It's
just a
for-
grant review?
Just your review.
Perfect.
Are there any other questions on that? Because these are ready for us to submit to the,
Well, so you don't need the board's approval of submitting or directing you to submit that? So if
I
we
don't,
take,
not necessarily, that's completely up to you, so you could vote either way. I mean, that's your call. However, if you vote for me not to submit these, then we need to absorb particularly the salary lines.
Haven't we already made a vote in way past history to allow our administration to apply for grants for us?
Yes, in 1993.
So if we're gonna
is
renege on that,
indefinite.
then that's a policy change.
That's a warrant, actually.
That's a warrant, yeah.
no,
I thought you said we could pick the parts of the grants that we wanted to accept.
There are all
Obviously,
of-
teachers' salaries at this point in time, we need to obviously pay our teachers.
All of the activities that are in these
Mhm.
grants are required activities. The amounts we can set,
Mileage is a required
but the
activity.
activity-
I'm not
I'm
falling
sorry.
for it.
not necessarily mileage. I'm corrected on that.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I just,
Attendance at the Title I meetings is
Mhm.
required, and they are
And-
in Concord.
and I understand that. I totally understand that. But I don't understand some of these other pieces. We can't, do we have to take a grant for $1,000? Do we have to take a grant for $2,300? And we have part on here for $2,400 performance measurement. What is that? That's why I think we need to review all these grants. Some of this makes no sense. We're taking federal money for mileage.
you said $61.33.
What is that? What does that mean?
I mean,
So we could go through each activity if you'd like while we're here and answer those questions that you have.
Well, I mean, some of them are pretty,
the one that says end date 9/30/2016, kind of, that's,
well, yeah, now we're tying ourselves into 2 years.
That means we can spend the money up to that point, is what that means. That's when the grant is open until.
okay.
And if the grant is open until that date, you're gonna be tied to that grant till that date.
Not
Not
necessarily
we
if
have
all
to sign
the,
the assurances every year.
and if all the funds are expended in this coming year, then there won't be any funds left to expend the following year.
These should have been brought to us a long time ago.
This is the first
And
time
we've-
we've had a
We
chance
brought
to
them
do so.
to you as soon as we had them.
Mhm.
I'm not in favor of them. The more you look into it, I'm not, it's Common Core. Why are we continuing to do this? It's Common Core, I'm not in favor of it. I won't be voting to approve them,
Any of them?
any of them,
He
yeah.
doesn't need our approval. In 1993, there was approval that he could apply for grants for us.
He wasn't here in 1993. It doesn't.
Gave it to the superintendent.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. A lot of things have changed since 1993.
you ain't kidding.
And now there's a real need to be looking over these grants and what they're doing.
If we have a history of going in the wrong direction, when do we change that history?
Exactly.
Right.
I can answer that. You change that history when you develop a warrant to not accept federal funds, because that warrant was on the ballot in 1993, and it's for an indefinite amount of time.
I don't think it said anything about accepting federal funds.
Yes, sir, it does. I have it for you right here.
I would like to see it.
Read it to you.
I mean, I can't see how any elected official would support a warrant to compromise the,
This is on the 19th of February 1993 See if the school district will authorize the school board to make application for and to receive and expend in the name of the district such advances, grants, and aid and other funds for educational purposes as may now or hereafter be forthcoming from the United States government and/or state agencies, private agencies, and/or other sources in accordance with the provisions of RSA 198:20-B. So in order to change that, you have to, this is the will of the voters in 93, and it's indefinite.
What you just read gives the school board the authority. It doesn't give the superintendent the authority.
Absolutely,
Right.
because it's the money's coming into the
Okay, so,
district.
so
What would-
why would you automatically submit these as a superintendent if the school board may not support it? According to that warrant article.
Because in our budget process, we did
Absolutely.
approve and we allotted for these to be done for this year.
It's
198,
That's not
what
what that
did
article
you say?
says.
:20-B,
198, I'm sorry, 198
:20-B.
dash B.
Certainly, very vague.
See if the school district will authorize the school board to make application for and to receive and expend in the name of the district such advances, grants and aid, or other funds for educational purposes as may now or hereafter be forthcoming from the United States government and or state agencies, private agencies, and or other sources in accordance with the provisions RSA 198:20-B. It does not say
What
that
would
we're
it
allowing the
pass?
SAU to make a decision for the school board,
What?
or an application, or accept monies, or give assurances. It's not what that says.
Well, it says the school board.
So it's your call. Take the call.
But now, it doesn't also say what the vote was. Did it pass?
It passed.
There's no record of the vote. I don't see any, why aren't there records of the vote? I mean, you can put a warrant article on anything, but it may not pass. That doesn't say whether it passed or not.
Right, and if it didn't pass,
Right.
it doesn't give us any authority to
No.
do anything.
No.
Well, I guess my thing is, I just wanna know, I want these broken down, I wanna know what they're for, and I wanna know, do we really need
How
them?
much time do we have? Do we have any time at all on this?
Paychecks go out next week.
I believe the money is in our operating budget, and I believe that if we had to shift monies from one line to another to cover a teacher's salary, because they are providing a service, that the monies would be there and the taxpayers would understand.
For the full year?
I would not recommend that.
But the taxpayers didn't approve that. Going forward for next year, I wholeheartedly agree that we should go through every grant that we have for budgetary for next year. But the people have already approved, and we've already set our budget for what we have this year.
Right, and I agree with you on that, Bonnie, but looking at this, $14,000, if you break down all of these functions within this grant, are they really necessary?
I totally agree with you.
You know, it's
I
not.
totally agree with you. but-
Teacher salaries, yeah, that's a
what we
necessity,
have to
but
do.
this
I
is
agree with
not.
you, but we
break them down.
have to break everything down. We have to start the budgetary process now. We have to start meeting
Exactly.
now and say, we're not willing to take a grant for this, we're gonna pay for it. We're not willing to take a grant for this, we're gonna pay for it. But right now,
But why would this
Wasn't
be
even
different than
approved
next
by a
year? then?
quorum of the
So if you're
board.
gonna get these at the end of
Or
the.
signed by a
and
quorum of the board.
But the school year, start the school
Is that
year.
even legal?
they
It's gonna
have
be
to
the
be
same
able to
thing.
give us the money. They have to
Only
be able to
two
give us
people.
the breakdown of what they wanna take, don't they?
I don't know, ask
I'm
him
sorry,
that question.
I wasn't following.
Can you give us the breakdown way before this?
This is the first time we've been able to give it to you.
But
This is
you-
the first
So
time.
so
No, we
can't-
did not have the allocations prior to 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when we finally got them, and then I was able to meet with Jerry. We just met this past week.
So how do we budget that?
Yeah.
As a board, how do we look forward in making our budget for next year and saying, we're not gonna take these federal monies, but this is the amount of money that we know we're gonna need to cover it? That's what
Right,
I'm asking.
Yep. So that's, in the budget building process, you determine what services you want to provide to students that aren't currently in your operating budget. that we are paying with federal funds, and then you build that into your operating budget. So again, it comes down to what services do you want to provide to our students that are not currently in our operating budget, and that also includes what professional development do you want when it comes to our teachers and our professional staff in general. You build that into your budget, and then you don't sign the assurances and you don't receive the funds. You also have to keep in mind when we talk about federal funds, are we not receiving free and reduced funding? Because then you have to build that into your budget as well. When we put together the total federal fund, the grant allocation, what was it, $1.5 million? So that's what you have to pick apart to see what you want to put into your operating budget, and then you can say, no thanks. We don't want to accept these funds because the town is going to raise and appropriate those monies.
Well,
So what can we pick apart now?
It just appears as though it's an out-of-control bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy, with the support of the school boards or the taxpayers or what, we're feeding this machine, and it's taking and it's taking and it's taking, and there's no stopping it. And do we, at any point in our sitting here on the school board, at what point do we say we'd rather not have the bureaucracy's money, the bureaucracy's control over our kids and our administration and stuff like that? At some point, we've got to throw a chalk under the wheel because the wheel's spinning out of control.
And the time to do that is when we start talking about the budget.
Well, that's 2 months away.
But
So, I
soon,
mean,
hopefully earlier than that. So as long as we start having some conversations about it, and if that's the direction that the board would like to go, then we should start those conversations now, because the budget building process takes some time, but we have a deadline. So that's the decision that needs to be made, either or.
I was just gonna, from my perspective, when you say how do we do that, I'm only looking at IDEA grant, but if you say to me as a board, we're not gonna accept federal funds, then when I bring my budget recommendations to you, I'll bring a recommendation that you need to put a school psychologist in your budget, because the IDEA fund. So some of the things that I think are in these grants, we can say to you in October, if you're not gonna accept them, then next year you
This
need
is
a
what-
reading specialist.
Right.
That's how it's done,
That's how we build
in
it.
October, as opposed to
Today.
today.
but
yeah, but then you're not gonna get this until a year from now, which is beyond this budget cycle.
Well,
You-
if you, I'm sorry.
Madam Smith.
Good.
Thank you. You wouldn't receive that because you're covering it under your operating budget. So this whole process becomes null and void because you're covered under your operating budget.
Well, right, but I think you just said that, but we're not receiving these. I mean, this should have come out this time last year.
it came out when it was available.
That therein lies the problem. They're making it after the fact. These have already started, and now they're asking for approval.
It's not their fault. It's the way it's always been done, and if we want to change it, we have to start now.
Right, because it would be the same next year if we don't. if we
Don't say that's the way it's always been done.
Can I
Well,
comment
did you
on
see
that?
these last year, Steve?
Huh?
Did we see these last year?
Yes.
Hmm.
Why would he not have seen these grants last year?
Because we
You
didn't
didn't-
ask for them.
We didn't ask for them.
Right.
This is the first year we asked
Yeah.
for those.
These were never, yeah.
And
I have copies of them from last year.
the applications?
Probably not.
The breakdown of them,
No, I don't think you have.
I think I might. But I might have asked for them.
I hope you do, quite honestly, but when it came to my attention, what was it, back in January when we started having this conversation about receiving
do.
federal funds, I stated that I would make sure that you had all information prior to the funding. So that was where the assurances came in, and we finished writing the application, so it's in front of you right now. However, we didn't have the conversation early enough in building the budget to absorb any of these monies, so that's where we are. So the process I agree with you, Mr. Brown, with the fact that if that's the way it's always been done, that's how we should do it. I don't agree with that at all. But I do feel that we're making a change at this point with how that process has always happened in the past. And, we're moving forward in the sense that we're starting earlier now, realizing that we should have those conversations prior to putting a budget forward to the budget committee for their review. So we are making some changes and moving forward because we're having conversations earlier. It's just not early enough, but we can change that.
Well, what can we do to get the grant review committee off the ground? Because we got what? We only have 2 months and budget season's gonna start. So the grant review committee is gonna have to be able to look at these and be able to come back to the board by budget season.
Right.
You gave until next time, right? You gave until next time. If the three of you want to meet, if you can get your question cleared up, go ahead and start meeting. And there's
You don't need to add the other ones right now.
You don't have to. Maybe you
Start
can't add the
yourself.
other ones right now. Start yourselves. And if you meet more than once a week, you meet more than once a week. It's up to you.
What is the answer to the question, how do I keep my oath of office?
You don't take any federal money.
Thank you. There's only one answer to it.
And if anybody does, or you insist that they're in
I'm
violation of their oath?
That's, my opinion doesn't matter on that issue.
Michael?
I also want to state that Mr. Gregoire and Mary and Ann can reiterate this. I haven't approved or accepted any additional grant monies outside of our federal entitlements because I'm also very cautious as to what the requirements are by receiving federal funding other than our entitlements, because I know that these entitlements go directly to students. So I'm very cautious to that, and they've come to me saying, well, there's this grant opportunity and I think it's a great idea, and I review it and say, I don't want to do that right now. And even so, I would bring that to you for your review prior to saying that, and also according to 198, that if there were, that would be considered unanticipated funds. If it was outside of these regular federal entitlements, we would have to have a public hearing in order to do that. So let's say we wanted to improve, improve the property for some reason, and there was a grant that would allow us to do that. That would be above and beyond our regular federal entitlements. That would be considered unanticipated funding. We would have to have a public hearing for that. So there's a whole process in place. So this isn't out of the ordinary. But I'm very cautious and critical about any other grant opportunities that come in, because they have to have direct impact on students.
Why do you keep using the word entitlement?
Because that's what the federal government calls it.
Federal entitlements.
Who's entitled to what?
The
Isn't it that
taxpayers,
big calculation?
Yeah, we're
And
entitled
that's,
to it.
Right.
Tommy?
they claim that the taxpayers have put money into the federal government, and the federal government has declared that the states are entitled to certain parts of those fundings, so long as the assurances are made and kept.
Public schools are entitled to the funding.
because we pay federal tax dollars.
Right.
And they get so much for education, and then it gets dispersed by a calculation for adequate education.
Correct.
Correct.
Comes to the state, and the state sends it through.
Doesn't mean you're entitled to a good deal.
But they're not entitled. But yet they're entitling us with allegedly our own money. Yeah, it's out of control. I would have to agree with you, Mr. Brown. It's totally out of control. And all they're doing, they're creating jobs. Now we got consultants with, no. We shouldn't be having consultants come in. should be doing consultants in-house, not being paid by the federal government to tell us what we're gonna teach our kids. No. So, I won't be voting to approve those. Bonnie?
If we don't vote to approve these, we have to come up with the 200 and something $1,000.
Right. I have something to say on that. We do have to come up with some serious money if we don't vote to approve these, but I don't see any reason whatsoever to approve this one for $14,837. It doesn't cover salaries. It covers professional development. We could do it in-house if we figure it out. I find no reason to take $14,000. Sorry. I don't see any salaries on here. I see administrative for $446. I'm pretty sure we can come up with that somewhere. We can get professional development somehow, somewhere without taking $14,000.
Wanna make that a motion?
Because how many professional developments have we done over the summer?
We've had several.
How many?
Well,
Right, so for us to take another $14,000 for professional development, plus we have this gentleman coming in to help us with curriculum, I'm
17,000 last year.
I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. I understand we need professional development, but not to the extreme that we're pulling how many teachers out of classes and we're taking $7,674. I understand we need professional development, but not every other week and not to the tune of $14,000. There's a way to find it cheaper. I'm not approving that.
Wanna make that a motion?
Yes, I'll make an motion. I'm not approving it.
That particular one.
That particular one. Because can you guys do it? Can you get professional development without taking this grant?
that's my point.
You can't?
I will not overspend a professional development line in our operating budget, so.
So you have professional development built into our
it'll have-
operating budget?
Correct, and I'll have to stay within that line.
So you'll stay within the line and we won't take the $14,000. It's that simple.
And those activities will not happen,
Thank you.
which is unfortunate. But
It is unfortunate,
that's
but
the
we'll
will
figure
of
it
the
out.
board, and that's what we'll do. It really is gonna have an impact on our professional development.
Bonnie?
In the 3 days, or the 4 days, that the National Math Conference goes on, I guess I would feel more comfortable if we just had 5 teachers going that were gonna bring stuff back. I guess what I find it hard to bite is that they stay there, we pay for food, we pay for mileage. I guess, and I think it's just because I don't have a job that offers those things. If I wanna go to a place, I have to drive back and forth. And I pay for my own gas because I know I'm bettering myself. And I pay for my own food. So those are things like, and with only 5 teachers being touched, could we bring something similar in here and offer it to our school for $7,600?
For $7,600.
Could we do stations and offer that here without having to travel? Well, I mean, I understand connections and I understand that. I understand the connecting. But can we offer that in-house?
We can certainly
Networking.
offer something. It won't be what the conference is offering because these are national speakers. These are this professional development in this national conference is quite extensive, and the teachers that do attend bring back tons, and they do share with everybody in the building their learning. It happened the last time we went to NCTM, which I can't remember. Anyway, they came back and shared quite a bit of what they learned. We definitely can do something in-house. It won't be to that magnitude.
But it's still professional development.
It wouldn't be close to that magnitude.
No, it wouldn't be close to that
And
magnitude.
there's something to be said about venturing outside of your district for professional
I
development.
understand that. You made that quite clear when you did the networking thing when we went to the summer summit. I totally get that.
But
I don't think this is okay. Bring it in-house and share it with everyone, probably at a cheaper cost, and we're not tied to federal monies. You want to network? Join LinkedIn. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. We can't keep using networking as an excuse to take professional development outside the school system. 5 teachers are going. Are they the same 5 teachers that go every time, or is it, I mean, how do you guys do that?
This is
Yeah.
math, so
I guess I would say then, to me, it feels contradictory to say we're not bringing consultants in.
And then ask us
then
to do it
say-
in-house.
Professional
We're not
developments
sending
and
people out.
consultants are 2 different things.
Consultants
We're
are bringing
paying, and I
professional
understand that, but
development
we're
in.
paying 17,000, what is that, a year to have a consultant come in here? The same consultant to work on the same curriculum? We can't have more than one person come in here? It's okay to use that same, that makes no sense to me, none whatsoever.
I think
Jersey.
Brown. I'm really hoping that maybe at some point the board can be able to have a conversation with teachers, because you continuously hear from us. However, it would be very good to hear the opinions of the teachers around some of these topics, because I'm sure they would have some strong opinions about
I'm sure
professional
they would.
development. And I think we should honor those
Maybe we can,
opinions of the teachers around professional development.
maybe we can squeeze something like that into one of our agendas soon, you
Mm-hmm.
know, after the school year begins. I know last year or the year before, we did ask the teachers to get together with us, and maybe we can do that again and bounce these things off each other, you know.
I mean, how much, you had professional development going on this summer. How many times? You said there was a number of times?
Yeah.
You had summer summit. How much curriculum development was done this summer?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
On the new standard?
On the new standards,
Mhm.
and it was done in-house.
Mhm.
It was not done with a consultant. I sat with the teachers at the table every day that we did
Mhm.
curriculum development. The last week, the full week was here in Paul School, because I had had some at the SAU office, and then we had so many people from Paul School, we moved it up here. So it has been done, quite a bit. Curriculum development was being offered as much as I possibly could this summer.
Are we ahead of the year schedule? But although I heard that we're now at a 2-year schedule to get it completed.
We set a deadline for that, so, for 2 years.
Thank you.
My point being is that I think we should be having more conversations, the board should be having more conversations with the teachers, because decisions that are coming out of board meetings are having having a
Impact.
direct impact on teachers. And we're, Mr. Gregoire and myself and Ms. Wilson are the ones that are delivering that message to the teachers. So I think it's important that we start establishing a communication link between the board and the teachers to have these conversations, because if this motion passes this evening, then we're looking at not having $14,000 for professional development. I think,
You said you budgeted it in, you could work within your budget.
no, I said we did not budget this $14,000.
Right, but you said you have a professional development line, correct, in the
for
budget?
courses
Right.
and workshops.
Right.
And that budget line doesn't encompass all of the courses that are in the contract, meaning that if every teacher took every credit that is offered to them in their contract, we would be over budget. So that's another gamble. So I wouldn't be looking at additional professional development that would be outside of any course or workshop reimbursement that the teacher is going to. That's where this $14,000 comes into play.
Yeah, I said Mary had her hand up first.
What that means is that we won't be able to offer anything in-house that has any cost to it, because of the fact that we have to hold those monies open for the teachers' courses. So I couldn't do a mass with something that had a lot of cost to it. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't bring a consultant in to do one that you were talking about with stations. I couldn't do multiple consultants and ask teachers to go to multiple stations to get their professional development, because that has a cost to it. The coursework that is in our budget is for the contract, and it's not even the full amount of the coursework. If we had every teacher take advantage of that coursework, we would be over budget. But we would have to honor it because it is part of the contract.
We also wouldn't be bringing in substitutes for any of that in-house professional development because that would overexpend our substitute line.
Well,
So in the future, we can have these professional growth opportunities presented to presented to all the taxpayers during the budget season, and we can try to weave it into our operating costs, right? And you know, I don't want you to think I'm not supporting professional development. I'm not supporting the feds involved in the professional development of our district.
mhm.
And that's all it is. If we knew that it was gonna cost $20,000 and we could add it on a line item to our budget, you know, for courses, for all of the teachers, developing the curriculum that's gonna be taught here at Paul School, you know, not involving Common Core or any other federal programs that we're enhancing our growth, you know, I would fully support that.
Mary, can you get us the curriculum development that you've done over the summer? And also keep us abreast on a continuing basis of what you're getting accomplished in curriculum
Tell
development?
you the number of units what each grade level has developed, if that would help. I'm not sure what curriculum you want to see. I would be happy to get you what you need, what you're offering, but I can tell you today the number of units that each grade level has developed, if that would.
That would be great to have in a report, like every
Yeah.
time until we're completed. If we could have that information on a bi-monthly basis,
Sure.
just so that we know that we have a sense that we're achieving something. And if there's a month that we only have like 2 sessions instead of 4, then at least we'll know that. I have another question. Can I ask a question?
Good.
Go ahead.
In the Title I, Part A, if in the budgetary season you would not have said, oh, we're going to apply for Title I, Part A, would you have decided to take all of these, including the math program, and instill them in your budget this year? Or would you have chosen not to? If you knew it wasn't a grant, would you have decided to add this to your budget? Or would you have gone without it?
The salaries, are you asking?
No.
Sure, we just-
Oh,
Just the
sorry.
Title I, Part A, I'm looking at
At
just
the 14,000?
the 14,000. Would you have chosen, and this is plain and simple,
Mhm.
you knew all of this was coming down the line, would you have chosen to do everything the way you see here if you had to take it out of your budget or not?
If I knew I had to put that in the operating budget, I would have reviewed how much we had spent out of federal funding for professional development over the past 5 years, average that out, and recommend that goes in the operating budget to increase our professional development line by that amount.
Okay, so you would not ask for your teachers to go without this year?
No, absolutely
You would have
not.
found a way for them to be part of it?
Absolutely.
Now, on the whole, mileage and staying, does anybody ever just have a Suburban and carpool back and forth anymore? Does that not
Or
happen?
take the bus.
Honest to goodness, you can tell me, does that just not
Take the
happen?
bus, it's $23 to Boston.
Is that like extra, I mean, I guess I'm old school, I'm
We
sorry.
carpool as much as possible. We don't send as many cars.
We don't carpool to Concord,
Right, but-
but
Right.
why do you spend the night? Is there stuff going on after dinner too? Or is it just because you don't want to drive?
The reason for the spending the night is that the conferences start at 8 o'clock in the morning, which means that most of the teachers would have to leave by
6.
6.
Isn't that
In
just,
order to get there.
that's normal.
I leave at 3.
I mean, if you have to, if they're personally gotta catch a flight at 8, they're gonna be up at 4:30 anyway.
But it's federal government, it's someone else's money, so
Well, it's
why
our
not
money.
just
But
spend
looking,
it?
money.
but looking forward, if you have to pay for this yourself, you're gonna find ways to save money. You're gonna carpool, you're gonna take the bus. You're not gonna, mileage reimbursement, $5.65. I'll give you $26, Mary, jump on the bus. You can go back and forth. It's fine, I'll pay for that. It's cheaper than that. This is silly. We're trying to cut costs, and if we don't have to take federal money, you would do that. You guys would carpool. You would go back and forth. So this makes, Bonnie's right. It just makes no sense.
You wanna make that, is that still your motion?
To pay Mary's bus fare? I
No.
will.
For the Title I part of it?
Of a total of $26.
Well, it's actually.
It's actually more than
It's
that.
more than that, because it's.
That's one
It's
way.
one way. But you get where I'm going with this. It's still cheaper.
Is that your motion? To,
There's already one on the
There's
floor.
already one
What's
on
the
the
motion
floor.
that's on the
The
floor, Beth?
motion on the floor is that Norma Joy made a motion to not approve the Title I Part A grant for $14,837.81.
838.90, I'm sorry, is it?
No, it's two different numbers.
Yeah, it's two different numbers, actually.
You, may I?
There is two different numbers.
Oh,
my God.
Did I
You need
not
to
do
get
it right?
specific on which one. So you're referring to the Title I-A Priority/Focus Set-Aside Grant for $14,837.81.
How come there's that?
That's the request limit.
Because that's the allowed amount
Oh,
that is
okay.
more than what we've
Okay.
applied
Budgeted,
for.
okay.
$1.15.
All right.
$1.15. Oh my God.
Okay. So that's the motion.
That was my
Who
motion
seconded?
that was on the floor.
We don't have a second or anything.
With all that discussion, we didn't have a second?
Is there
No, we had
a
nothing. We were off on tangents.
motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against?
Opposed?
All right, who's second?
Well,
Submit now.
Do we want to deal with the other two grants on the table?
I would prefer a vote, Mr. Fogg.
Yeah.
So it's in the minutes that the board approved me submitting those.
Well, I don't blame that.
I don't think I can vote on these other two.
no,
Tonight anyways.
no, this other one is, it's all common core. I'm sorry, it's all common core. Academic content standards of the New Hampshire DOE.
The money's not in the budget. The only people that are gonna be hurting from us not approving this tonight are the kids that need these services starting next week.
Right, we need these.
We need.
We
right.
need
Our
these
hands are-
services. Our
right.
hands are tied.
Our hands are tied on
We need
that.
to move forward with better judgment and more information, but right now, our hands are tied and our children deserve these services. I make a motion to approve, Title I, Part A for $133,550.61 and Title II, Part A, $59,386.08.
I second it.
Well, which one? Both of them?
Mm-hmm.
We can't do anything this year.
We can't. Our hands are tied. We have to have these
I
salaries.
thought
They're
you
not
just
budgeted
said
in.
you couldn't.
Well, we can't stop it this year, I'm saying.
Well, that's not, you didn't say that. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Take care of that for tonight?
Norma's still reading.
Wait a minute.
She hasn't voted yet.
I thought I,
Wait. Stop. Michael, I have a question on this before I even vote. And I'm sorry to hold you guys up, but I want to be thorough. The one for $59,386. Activity 31621. What exactly is that for?
That's the 25% of the reading specialist and Title I coordinator salary. So 75%
Okay.
comes out of Title 1A and 25%
Okay.
comes out of 2A.
I have to vote for it because we have to be able to educate our children and our hands are tied. Not happy about it.
So,
There'll be money to take care of it.
So both of those passed, is that right?
yes.
3-2.
Thank you, Kim, already.
SAU 64.
I just have a brief update, Mr. Chair, follow up on what we've already been discussing. We had a great experience at the Summer Summit this past summer. We had a team of teachers that went. Mr. Byrne attended, Mr. Gregoire, Ms. Kebler, Ms. Wilson, myself. We were all there. We were able to see some national speakers as well as attend the strands, and I'd sent the agenda out to all of you with some of those strands. We had some great conversations as a team around a co-teaching approach, which would allow us, as we had mentioned, to basically open up the doors to the classrooms and allow students to flow naturally through the classrooms and utilize our staff as a whole when it comes to providing instruction where students really need it. So that was really a focus of our conversations together as a group, because we had plenty of time during the summit as a team to discuss co-teaching and some of the other sessions that our teachers had attended, anywhere from competency-based reporting, I know that Mr. Gregoire and Mr. Byrne attended a Levering Leadership strand for the entire summer summit that was talking about building leadership capacity within your building, but also really utilizing the resources you have within your building to determine the great decisions for advancing student achievement. So I had an opportunity to go and see a competency-based reporting system that Sanborn Regional is using currently, that's well ahead of the game, to help really develop a plan to roll out competency-based reporting and competency-based instruction at the Paul School, because that is the direction I feel that we should go. I had a great opportunity to do that. I also went with some of the teachers who attend a session around developing student learning objectives, which I needed a little more information on. I gained quite a bit there and had an opportunity to work with one of our teachers here during that session to think about developing SLOs based on competencies. So it's very informative, and it was a great time to be together as a staff and talk about things to come in the future. Learned a lot, quite a bit.
Competency-based instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Go into detail about that?
Yes, sir. You basically take your standards that we're developing curriculum around, and you develop what are known as competencies. And competencies are statements of skills and knowledge that students should acquire based on a content area such as English or mathematics, and it's written so you can assess the demonstration of the skills and the understanding of the knowledge gained. So it's a different way of assessing students compared to just giving them a test or a quiz. It really ties into individualized learning, project-based learning, inquiry-centered learning.
Fine.
I heard through the grapevine that you were invited to go to Summer Summit to be able to bring back a perspective as a board. I know that you chose not to go, but in the future, if you get invited to something like that and you choose not to go, if you could maybe communicate with one of us, maybe one of us would like to go, so that we can bring that back and we can have a board's perspective on what happened.
On federal government money?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't pay my own way, but I would like the opportunity to be able to go. And maybe someone else would too.
I don't think it should be paid with federal grant money.
I didn't say that it would have to be.
Well, I know, but I'm saying it should not be.
I didn't say it would have to be. I just said I would like the opportunity and the invitation if you would not like it to go.
And that's,
I think it'd be nice if we all were extended the invitation. Not that you did anything wrong by inviting Steve, but,
That would have been the last one I would have done.
Yeah.
That was my invitation.
oh, okay.
I made that, so.
Sorry about that.
So I guess if he doesn't want to go, I think it would be nice because when we're talking about professional development and being, not badgered, but I can't think of a better word right now, that it's all about Common Core and against everything we believe in, one of us would have a very clear view whether it was or it wasn't.
We all might choose to go, just to be fully informed, so we can make a fully informed decision. I think if the invitation was board-wide and school-wide, and, and nobody did anything wrong. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, and we know that we're not going to be at the dinner table in the popular crowd. We know that. But we can still go and be part of that and see what our teachers and our administration are allowed to bring back, because I think that that would be very beneficial for us moving forward to be able to decide where we think monies are best spent.
So to that point, we would have that discussion during building the operating budget that we would budget in potentially for a board member to attend the summer conference. I'm not sure if the summer summit will continue, but I'm assuming that it probably will. So that just ties into the prior conversation about if that's what you want to do, then you fund it. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
old business?
Don't get with Steve.
What? Mr. Wallet, you have something, your
I
comment?
said, who's bunking with Steve?
Yeah.
That's a long way to drive without a cigarette, Mr. Brown.
Old business?
Yes, sir.
Nothing? Committee reports. You wanna just go over your policy committee meeting today? I think that's the only committee report we got.
Today in our policy meeting, we went over BEA, regular board meetings, and changed the time from 5 to 7. EF, food service management, the policy stated that we still had our own management service and we needed to stipulate that we did not. Data management was postponed until the next meeting so that we could get more clarification on an RSA that gave us the 3 things that we were allowed to give and the SID numbers and how all that worked, and we were going to get more information. Awards and scholarships, IKG, was setting forth, it had to clarify that the school board offers a $500 scholarship as well as making provisions for other people to bring one in. JFACC, tuition expenses for Wakefield students, added verbiage on lottery and how that was going to play out to cover that for the next school year. And then JFAD, tuition expenses for non-disabled preschool students. That's a new policy that's being developed, and it is going to coincide with what we feel for tuition and what we feel for class sizes and ratios, and to give some more clarification on if we feel that it would be best to stay as a special ed program or to maybe move forward becoming an early childhood education program, and to see if we want to be able to have a second option of affiliating with local preschools as a second option, or keeping it all in-house. So those are all moved to the next policy meeting, which we, Norma and I and Mr. Tercey will be meeting in the mornings rather than at night, either at the SAU or here. And moving forward, we have, for the next meeting, we have a family policy about who can be married or connected in the building, a refusal of or an opt-out in regards to RSA 18611 1XC, and we, subcommittee involvement we're looking at because of the question that you brought up, and then mileage and dinner policies is going to be brought up.
Well,
I got it. IKG, JFACC, JFAD, BEA.
Mhm.
What were the other policies?
EF and EH.
EF and EH?
And those will be brought to you in the next meeting
Thank
for
you.
your first reading.
Thank you very much.
You're writing those down on your agenda.
Yeah.
Would you like those added into your package on a regular basis, so you
I may already
have the
have-
pertinent information that you might need to make a decision?
When I look at what we talked about at the agenda, I'll see these then.
Okay, if you're all set, that's fine. Public comment. So,
You have Title I school-wide school now.
No.
You have two Title I positions in the, under Title I. You said something about a reading specialist. Is that Title I also?
Yes.
yes.
Out of the IDEA grant?
No. It's out of Title I and Title IIA.
But the reading specialist position is in the operating budget.
There's another reading specialist position in the operating.
So that
budget.
was going to be my question. So you've added a position.
No.
You had two reading specialists last year?
It's a Title I teacher. Unfortunately, I don't know where reading specialist came in, but it is a Title I teacher that has a reading specialist certification. So it is a Title I teacher and the Title I coordinator or manager, grant manager.
Last year, they were Mrs. McMullen and Miles, is that right?
Mrs. McMullen and
Ms.
Jen Levitt.
Jen Levitt.
Mrs. Levitt.
And then who's replacing Mrs. McMullen?
Mrs.
Cotreau?
So, for clarification, we have one Title I covered and one operating budget covered. Reading specialist, is that correct? Two separate
Correct.
people?
Title I goes for reading and mathematics. We just wanted to make sure that the person had a reading specialist certification as well. So that's, I think, where the nomenclature came in as far as the reading specialist.
Okay. All the indirect costs from the grants go back to the SAU.
The indirect costs are to cover the administrative portion.
But they go to the SAU because I know the board has a choice whether they stay here or they go to the SAU. And I'm asking if they all go to the SAU.
I would have to look into that for sure. I am not absolutely positive if they go to the SAU or if they come back here.
And the last thing, if you go to Cafe Services website, you'll see a letter to the Wakefield parents stating that there's a 25% increase in lunches, and this is before you guys discussed it. If you go to their website, you see a letter. Your parents are Wakefield.
Well,
That is correct, and that's when it came to my attention, and that's why it was brought to the board for approval. And that we'll be changing that letter based on the board vote.
Cafe Services posted it before we even knew about it?
Well, we signed the contract, it wasn't made clear to us when we approved it.
So it'll be changed.
Now a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3, 2, A, B, and C, nominations, resignations, tuition requests, superintendent evaluation.
I'll make that motion.
For a second.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Fall guy.
Sierra?
Troy, aye.
What I.
Brown, yes. Thank you for coming.